We're still in the midst of the last tournament to be played on the not Siege X patch, because that's about to come in and completely revolutionize the way that Siege is played up and down the board, but we're not quite out of the weeds quite yet. We got the groups of the finale that we wrap up today before we move to play-ins and playoffs later on throughout the week. I'm Jacob, he's Golu. Dude, you and I haven't had the chance to work on anything together, so first off, hello. Second, how ready are you for tonight?
I'm looking forward to it, you know? I mean, it's one of these games where you get to the end of it, you kind of have a decent idea of what's left on the line. I mean, we're talking just before, it's still like a little up in the air what these two teams need to try and get out tonight. Not fully in their own control, but for the most part, that just means you have to come into it with nothing held back, right? This is your last opportunity to try and put some points on the board, try and get yourself into those play-ins, so just go full force.
So the XGS division of the finale has already been wrapped up and done. We still have the TPL division that we need to wrap up first, and we have a double header because NMW have two games that they have to play back-to-back in one night. Sometimes that is just how scheduling is supposed to work in the first place. But they have a very tall task because currently they sit in dead last in the TPL division, but they have the opportunity to get themselves 8 points tonight and vault themselves from 6th up into 4th and get into that play-in spot. If they were to lose tonight in any facet, then they will be eliminated, but they need as many points as they can possibly get because they only have one win so far. But they're not playing with Sneeze tonight, they're playing with Joe, and when Joe played with this team, he was the one reason they were able to get the one win that they've got so far in this division.
Yeah, for sure, a solo carry performance. I think we'll just write that one up in the little history books and just leave it to go. No one's allowed to fact. Don't check the VODs, don't check the tapes. This is the truth. But yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be really interesting, right? You have to put 4 maps in a row back to back against 2 different teams. It's a tough order for them, but you know, you gotta be able to stand up when it's most important if you want to get those wins. And hey, what better way to make that final run when everyone's like, oh, team bottom of the standings, don't worry about them, they're gone, and then you suddenly just fly up through and you appear. For the most part, we got pictures on board as well, which is always lovely to see the faces of people who will be, you know, following through the night and hopefully not seeing Whiff too much. But we got a full house for the Uggs, and I have to say, I love seeing all 5 players be able to get organized and get a photo in. Often, you might have one guy on the team who's in charge of photos, you know, the organizer of the group trip, for example, but great job from them.
I think even if all of them are in wildly different styles, just the fact that all of them were able to get something up there in the first place.
We've got 3 gamer poses as well, always a classic.
We love that, and I'm trying to figure out whether Dead or Yeti is the most jacked Siege Pro I think I've seen in a minute. It's kind of hard to tell, but for player pictures, good job, boys. The thing is, the Unks are the team that NMW would be trying to knock out of their current 4th place spot. So all the Unks have to do is win this one. They get their play-in confirmed. They can't make it into top 1 or 2 at this point. I want to say both of those spots are already locked down. The Unks cannot advance. They can get past Carnico to get to 3rd, but they can't go any further than that, which means if they were to win, then the rest of tonight doesn't matter for anything because there's a 4-point gap between them and Turtle Tactics and a 5-point gap between them and NMW. But again, because NMW can get 8 points today, all the Unks have to do is not lose, and they're completely fine. And so far, being the favorites, they do have the better record. They're, again, the team that went all the way to 4th place during Challenger Series. They should basically be fine.
Yeah, this is one that you're looking to see them be able to clean up, tidy up, sort themselves out for the playoffs. Doesn't mean there's no entertainment later on, because you always get the banger game at the end of the season. It's the double-headed side of the round-robin system, right? Is on one hand, you get a game where, look, if the Unks are able to put points on the board, neither of the teams can make it through. But that just means you see all the gimmicks that they've been saving up all season long, they all get unleashed. You'll get all the meme strats. And those do make effectively emergency show matches, which are always the most entertaining games at any event to watch. So you want to hang around for that one. A couple bands coming out the gate early, and I appreciate the Unks taking Cafe out. Leia going, a little bit of a shame. It's a map that Leia's really grown on me. I know a lot of people hate it, but it's got a spot in my heart.
Yeah, I think it would have been an interesting pick, especially since the Unks are 3-2 on it, so maybe NMW could have had a chance. But the ones that we get are really up there for the most part. Unks are 3-2 on Chalet, so they opt to take it first, especially considering options like Border, which is just, I mean, actually, I want to say these are backwards. Am I crazy? These backwards? I'm trying to figure out who has the picks. You know what? Regardless of who has the picks, Chalet for the Unks is They're 3-2 on it so far if you were to combine their Challenger Series record and their finale record together. For NMW, they're 1-1. So it's the Younks do have some weaknesses to exploit, but for NMW, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was thinking of.
Wait.
When we go to Consulate, though, so for first 2 maps, just getting to Consulate, that's a map that NMW, even if this was a team that was put together specifically for the finale, they've yet to lose it. They're 5-0 on Consulate. But if we need to go play Labs, the Unks have played that map so much, they're 7-2 on it over the past like 3 to 4 months time at this point with this 5-stack. So for NMW, you should be happy that you got Consulate because very clearly you've got something figured out there. If you can win Chalet and then win your own map pick and completely avoid map 3, then you can go into that Turtle Tactics game, no problem. Because again, if you were to go to Labs, there's a chance you probably don't win it anyway because Unks are so good on that map thus far. NMW have a clear path here. It just relies on how quickly they're able to get through map number 1.
Yeah, and you're looking at when Unks say, this is our map, this is Chalet, it's a map that you're going to know coming in, right? This isn't something like your Consulates, maybe like a layer where one team is going to get a really big advantage from having those repetitions, from having practiced it really deeply. Yes, the practice, the payoffs, rerunning your strats, making sure you have everything drilled, always going to pay off. That preparation is king, but it's a very flippy map. You can get very aggressive, you can be very quick, you can get up in the Young's face and really throw them off their pacing right from the get-go. And that is going to be your chance to just try and slip that one in your back pocket. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes through, and with no MAMES WEY coming in through on the defense first, they kick off our attack of bans, and of course, it's going to be the Blackbeard. I mean, this shield is a little oppressive, some have said. I tend to agree. It is quite scary staring down. Obviously, you still got 2 other shields, so 1 will be available, and we've seen plenty of shield play all season long with basically every team at this point having a dedicated player. But the Ying, that's a little bit more spicy. I mean, you can get some real chaos. Maybe the Unks just want to keep the game under control for the first half.
Still options for two shields on attack now, and it's a little bit surprising because the Ying isn't a bad ban, but you'd probably see Doke ban in that situation a little bit more often too. Just in terms of what typically gets taken off the board. So you're going to have Intel plus shields for the Youngs to work through on their own map pick. There's plenty of options available, and honestly, I think there's plenty of executes where you don't have to worry about the Ying, and you can still play double shield even if Blackbeard's off the board. So I think Unks are probably liking that one. Tube and Valkyrie off the board. Neither one of those are surprising. The only thing that might be a bit surprising is Azami is still left in play, so you can get a little bit more creative with how you want to play, especially top floor defenses, and if you want to put more keeper barriers in library or try to give yourself more positions when you actually do defend top floor. But you're taking the Valkyrie off and you're not about to keep half wall closed when you are either attempting to make sure roamers don't get to you or you're defending on office itself. So fine with that ban, definitely has a lot of utility, but I do think for what the Unks have right now, it seems like the Ying ban was really just a preference thing because they would much rather have Intel plus more shields that they can use when they work through this first 6 rounds. And if they can overwhelm on firepower and Intel and make sure that NMW don't have a corner that they can slink back into, I think that's overall going to be their game plan here.
Whenever that 2 rounds gone, I'm always just praying that teams please pay the EMP tax. Please just bring them along. Don't make life too difficult for yourselves. I mean, we saw the hover of the Kali, something that is definitely more prevalent on Chalet, where you have the balcony, the little gazebo outside you can go and stand on if you really want to be cheeky through the master window. Here, it's downstairs, however, still long lines of sight. Sometimes you see people go on at the back staircase in the fireplace hallway and try and draw those long lines of sight down in towards the kitchen or challenge in towards split. Mirror window being set up there, though, so again, all this information coming in for the defense, where they're going to be able to look into that site, anticipating the fairly standard push, right? You come across, you get into library, clear out that mez, start playing for that main lobby wall to try and break down for a plant. But starting things off slowly, the Unks doing their due diligence. They're playing with the balcony up above and clearing out all the way from the other side, although you still have Ions as well, just kind of lurking around Solarium in case anyone just isn't checking where they're going.
Tax just checking all the different outside points to start with, making sure library is good. You can go up mezzanine on the balcony, maybe one player still on solar. If not for the entire round, at least to make sure that no one's going to be in a weird spot. So it does mean that the rest of the Younks can move through and just try to drone out some of these offside positions right now. And they do have Dokkaebi to assist with that. Not like I was thinking, because if you don't have a Dokkaebi banned, then she's probably going to have impact somewhere else in the round. Observer is giving us Reapers and Mud, though, with Gridlock being only a little bit, maybe like 1 room away for the most part. So if Ions is able to get in position to at least provide some cover, it might mean that Reapers gets taken out early here, or Reapers might have a very sneaky 2K unless he finally does get droned in mud, which again, I don't think anyone's forced him out. I think he's still in there right now.
Yeah, and the longer the round goes, the less likely you are to check a spot like mud as well, right? Because you're just thinking, who's going to be bananas enough to just sit there and do nothing for the first minute and a half around? Well, the answer's Reapers. Still playing for this presence outside on the highway balconies, though, as we're going for the main breach, and still Lucy undetected. It's time to activate. Oh, that's a freebie onto Gridlock. There's one more on the right.
Might have another one. He'll sneak through. I think the problem is Reapers gets the kill, and then he can basically move anywhere for free, and Gridlock wouldn't have enough intel on this. Ooh, he's got a good spot on front door. He might have another one here. Drix will grab Bless, though. So one by one, it looks like the Young's attack is falling apart, even if they do have the necessary walls open both above and below sight. Now they're going to have to scramble, call an audible, and try to reposition to someplace different. Because the issue is they still don't know where Reapers is, and, well, now they have an idea, but he's all the way back in bar stock. It's just going to split the Young's attention between too many things all at the same time. They might have a frag on him here, but, again, with 40 seconds to go, they're doing a roam hunt as opposed to going to sight. Finally gets flashed out. There's the frag, so it took a hot second, but I don't know, man. With 30 seconds left, we'll see if they have enough time to execute here.
Still looking down, they do have the breach open, so it does help them out in this situation. Checking underneath in case anyone's prepared with a nitro cell underneath the hatch, but it's all focused on this mirror window staring in from Split and the information it's going to give as the Unks try to force a plant, but it's so far to go with still nitro cells on the table.
15 seconds, no smokes, just have to rely on flashes, but you still haven't done anything to clear the vertical out quite yet. You're just going to have to hope and pray. There's the nitro, and it does grab him, but Zalaris is in there, tries to make a difference, and he finally does, but with 5 seconds to go, it's still the vertical pressure upstairs. If you don't clear that, then you're not going to win the site. You just don't have the time. A diffuser is still on the floor. NMW open up Chalet in a really good way because it looks like Unks just had too many untraded kills that round.
And I think on top of that, you're looking at the fact that, yes, I like to see us getting that safe control over my library, making sure we push into games, get that fireplace, play for the breach, but it just needs to be so much quicker. There is zero congestion on that whole side of the map, and it still takes them 1:30 to be in position. They're not even, it's not like we're even doing this whole, like, oh, let's clear out into office and make sure we get that piano control, right? There's an army set up there with zero interference the entire round. Just kind of left, you have what? You put your ash outside on highway windows and kind of just make a little bit of noise to maybe draw some attention away from where the breach is going on. You know, maybe it discourages the defense from pushing up onto mezzanine itself. But that's not really enough of a justification for why it's being so long to get anything done. And then you have, yeah, Reapers. It's a bit of a wild card move, right? You're not expecting someone to be stuck inside of mud, but the moment he does, he buys instantly another minute. He dies at 30 seconds. So we're going, okay, from that situation, you have to hard commit to one player or another, and it's not until they finally go, all right, actually, this Lucy is still being an issue. We still haven't figured it out. Let's send a drone. Let's do this. You need to do that as soon as that kill happens. Move quicker. Keep the pacing of the round up, and it would have put them in a position where, yeah, they're in a 3 versus 5. It's not ideal, but they can still play for that plant with time to spare to bait out utility and have a second crack at it.
Joe is letting him know too, hey, that's a great spot to try and plant when we literally still have vertical control.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah, that's just one of those things on the checklist that you have to make sure you get done before you try to move in. But is what it is. We'll head round 2. Bit of an op switch here for Unks. They've gone for Cap to go for some more top clear and see if they can't work through these offside positions a little bit quicker. But there are multiple defenders 2 floors above site because we've gone to garage, but they're still maintaining master control with some reinforcements upstairs. There's probably enough bodies that if they were to hit site a lot faster, the rotates from the defenders may be a little bit too late to affect anything here, and they've brought a Capitao with the possibility of a smoke plant, and there is an early frag for Big Matt. Suddenly Reapers can't do any of that crazy roam stuff that he was doing before, and there's a lot more pressure already downstairs. Sorry, site is not on garage. I misspoke, but it still does give a little bit more space for the Youngs to move in, try to find a hole and get a plant down in the smoke if that's what their plan is with Capitao here.
Well, it's just like really good presence to get early on. You can try and bring their ace round, throw a Selma onto the stock wall, make that playing, inside a stock a lot less comfortable, really. Going for library control once again, and I like to see the Capitao being brought through just to try and peek up. Now that mirror window taken off the table as well, so everything becoming a little harder to contest when that plant finally comes to push, but Drix able to get an aggressive swing, well timed, but the Capitao's got the shot, the crossbar out in hand as well, so not really much you can do in retaliation. You get to reset and still chill, and again, we're down to, what, 1:15 in this round, and it's looking harder and harder for the Unks to continue to push through, even if they have got good presence, with Bless slowly creeping up from blue.
You want to try and smoke plant, you've still got the 2 in Dead's back pocket. So if you're trying to get enough presence through some of those chokeholds and then try to get the plant down on half wall by the window, the option is still there for you. It's just going to be a little bit tough here. Bless needs to win a gunfight against one top blue stairs and still kind of playing the back and forth ring around the Rosie game, but the high ground's going to win that every time, and Joe and Drix both find one apiece, but Dead and Zolaris answer. Suddenly we've evened up immediately, but how much vertical pressure still needs to get cleared before the Youngs can move in? It might be the same problem from last round, but they're already affecting entry to site. Zolaris is already in. Does he have a spot where he wants to get to? He'll just go hit the default spot. Dead's not going to be able to give him smoke cover. He'll just give him gun cover instead, but the vertical has not been cleared. I'm not even sure if NMW are aware that this is going down, but now they have to make the rotate out. Someone has to come downstairs, plus the hatch. They should know what angles to at least look at, and they at least know that the 1 has been planted default. Ace is just evading every shotgun blast, and he doesn't even need to worry about it. HUD upstairs. If he were able to find that kill and put him in a 1v1, he'd have a shot, but now it's looking dire. 25 seconds, only about 14 of which he'll have to use to find 2 kills and go for case. Still waiting for somebody. Nitro is ages away from finding any frag, and both attackers are just waiting for him to drop. He finally does. Unks get an answer. It just looks like they got in and got out quick.
And that's what happens, right? They put that pressure in early. They tried to force players out of library, and look, the Capital died, and they weren't able to put themselves actually inside the building, but just by forcing them out, Drix wants to get aggressive, ends up going down. They buy themselves that just small window of time, and Ace takes it. No hesitation, jumps in, goes to the plant, and stays alive. I mean, yeah, we saw it, right? Very, very unfortunate not to catch him with the shotgun there when you open it right on him, and then spray it through the floor on him again. And then you catch him just as he passes underneath the hatch. You think like, oh, heartbreaking to be so close yet so far. I like this push by Bless as well, trying to get in a position, pairing with Dread from Fireplace. It's a really good job. It's unfortunate he gets caught off by just the aggressive swing. Like Castle just thinking like, I'm going to go for it. Gets down, but not quite enough to hold on, with the rest of the team then coming in and collapsing from behind as well. Ultimately, a really good display from the Unks, where they just show, like, if we can get enough players on all sides of this defense, eventually one angle is going to give up, and that's the space that you buy. You draw them out to blue. Dread can walk in more aggressively inside a lobby. Really nicely done. Vying for that, even if you're losing picks, right? It's all about getting them back and maintaining that parity of pushing that advantage ever onwards.
It might also be a coincidence that we've seen 2 rounds in a row where they've not prioritized a top clear as effectively as you would think. They're not committing bodies and resources to making sure that there is nobody top floor before they go plant, but at least that time it worked out because they took advantage of a gap that they saw on MW or NMW, and they were like, you know what? We can just go for this early. But it may not be the same case here. You might even be bringing the Monty in round 3 to make sure that you don't have anybody up on top floor. Change up your attack strategy a bit because NMW are opting to just replay the same site. Shouldn't be a huge problem for Unks to clear this if they want to, but they haven't prioritized it for 2 rounds here, so I am curious if that's the angle that they take. Just open up library windows. Drix is not in the same suicide position in library. They're opting to put the mirror window there to give them more cover, and they might even allow the Unks to get into library before trying to take some of those fights, but top Fireplace and now having that shield and piano are both going to be power positions that the Unks will have to clear before I think they can really do anything in this round.
I think you have to be a little bit more respectful of the rest of this extension coming through, as again you want to try and push up through trophy with the Monty. HUD's prone on the floor for the time being. I believe that's behind the plant pot in Solarium as well, so in a good spot to catch them out with a nitro cell when they walk up to the top of the staircase. But I like the patience, committing it out early, catches him on the back. Yeah, takes down Bless. The shield's still standing. That might be the more valuable target in this situation.
Still 5 guns left to 3. Monty might want to take an opportunity to fight this, but HUD says absolutely not. Both kills, Solar Stairs, go to him, and now he'll be able to hold that entire side of the map himself. That's also Case now. So now the Unks have to scramble and find a way to get back to it, but they've got to clear HUD first, and they don't even know where he's at. No drones, no intel. They might have an idea if they do some blind spraying, but they're just not going to get anything done with this one. About a minute to go. Fantastic opener for HUD, and all he has to do is keep on staying alive and denying for as long as possible.
Unfortunate immediately to be found out by Zolaris, but again, the job's done, right? You take 2 kills, you put Descends to 1 HP, and you spot 2 minutes. Now they have to go for the rest of this clear, and everything's just taking a little bit longer. Spots the opening there, so potentially could just take a little swing out. You still got 2 flashbangs to throw to try and buy out that utility. But things are looking a lot worse for wear here for the attack, as again, these Keeper's shield still deployed, bunkering up Mezzanine bunkering up blue, and there's only 30 seconds left on the clock as the flashbangs are going to start to fly through. Capital putting pressure on the back. They just have to commit.
Hell of a time to try and push the library. Drix will take down the Capital as he makes the vault in. That 1 HP that Zolaris has now been removed, and it's just Big Matt. He had a good play last round, but he won't be able to do anything. Teak just comes right up the hallway and takes his head off. So really good way for NMW to answer back that time, but it just doesn't. The Unks look all out of sorts right now. You have a shield, you're trying to clear top, and then suddenly you lose the player behind him and you lose the shield. There's just not a lot of coordination to get so much ISO on these NMW players. Unks don't really look like they're in the lobby at the minute.
Yeah, and I like the use of this timeout early on, right? I'm a big proponent of get them in early and fix the mistake before the map starts to slip through your fingers. We're 3 rounds in, 2 of them have gone against you, and it's all off very similar situations, right? Where you're just not able to coordinate effectively on the front line. We're watching HUDs just prone, able to get a very cheap Nitro Cell kill, just flying over the top, buys a second one onto the Monty, who feels the need to get aggressive. You got support coming in from the teammate, you can try and go, but we're going to hear what they're having to say about this and maybe how they're going to get out of the situation.
Normal, right? There's nothing special about it. The only thing they do is that they double down on turtle ops and then let the roamers poke you guys in the mid game. So we either need to find the roamers and kill them, or bait them to us, or do directs. Pick one of those 3. All right, reset, focus up, and let's get refrags. I want to double up on here. All right, let's go, guys. Come on.
All right, let's just bring a Deimos the rest of the game. So someone just go like parts like Deimos.
I mean, honestly, I don't disagree with any of that. I feel like if you're able to do some of that top floor ISO, especially if that's the sites that NMW or if they're going to play not top floor and they're going to play a whole bunch of people up on vertical, that's immediately the first thing you have to focus on. Find one guy, put 2 or 3 people on him, clear him, move on to the next one. And that sort of cycle we just haven't seen for 3 rounds consecutively, and that's a big reason why NMW, again, on Unk's map pit, have so far managed to get 2 defenses. If they were to get another one, I'd call that overachieving for Chalet defense, just because it sits right around that 51-49 precipice on is it attacker sided or not. So, and again, as much of an advantage as an NMW can get in this first map before going into a map that they really like in Consulate for map 2 is going to help them try and stay alive here if they were to win all 4 maps required to stay alive in the finale.
I also really like the level of trust that we're hearing in the Unks, right? It's not guys, you have to do this one thing exactly. It's, look, as long as we're working together on the same objective, you guys have the opportunities, right? He's saying we can either try and draw them out, bait them in, or we can hard push and make action happen ourselves. And I like to see just that realignment where it's not about you doing something wrong, it's just make sure we're doing it all together. There was Reapers just hiding away in a corner, and when he was found out, when he got that opening kill, there wasn't that immediate action, there wasn't that plan. There was no hard attempt to bait, there was no hard attempt to clear. Getting that fixed now, before they have still 3 more rounds to try and correct it up, I love that identification.
So Unks go with a good mix of intel plus execute utility. We'll work over some walls. The only thing that they actually have nothing on hard breach. Not a damn thing, so they're not opting for anything there. And honestly, for this site, they probably don't need it. It's just a matter of how well they're able to effectively work together to make sure that they can clear out anybody in these power spots right now. Big window peek, that's not the way you want to answer. I don't even think Matt got to use any of those senses before he died, which is going to be a big problem. And Reapers decides he wants to take that solo fight. It doesn't matter because Reapers is still there. Blessed is in a really bad spot, and suddenly Unks, whatever they would have talked about in a timeout, if they're trying to do some isolation, NMW's defensive plan, even if it's Reapers on 2 HP, is all that they need to push through right now.
There does get one back, finally shutting down that smoke. But again, he was 1 HP after that engagement from the Solarian Repel. I don't know why we're not looking. Spots the barrel from the Azami and the shoulder as well, but it's not going to line up for them, Jacob. And now you got halfway through the round still, tucked into the bathtub on top of that, as Ion's now swinging in to try and find a pick back.
Ooh. He's avoided the nitro, but I'm not really sure if he knows where to look, and I don't think they know that there's somebody still sitting in bathroom. And aside from that one guy, it would still be a 3v3, even if they didn't know where that one player was. Joe pops up, grabs Solaris. Ions tries to get an entry point, but he doesn't know which angle he would want to die from. He does manage to take down the Mira, but at the same time, he'll lose out, and all Dead can do is vault through big. NMW look like they're slowly starting to pile on, and again, Unks cannot get any of these ISO kills to start the round here.
It's proving to be really hard, and it's all built off NMW just stacking up so effectively on these entry points. I mean, there it's all about Reapers. There's so much pressure being focused. This time on above, they actually do want to go for that full clear through. But the smoke just somehow able to creep up behind the staircase. Like, I love the aggressive swing. You know the nade's coming through. You can either back off. They have a rotate into kitchen, but instead wants to make something happen very early on. But there needs to be that communication going, hey, there's actually a guy on the stairs behind you right now, Deimos. You might want to turn around. Because then he's just been shot in the back. It's a freebie, bro. Like, it's a real shame after we've just come out of hearing the team go, look, we just need to talk to each other better, right? We just need to line up with each other to then have almost the exemplification of the opposite occur. It's unfortunate timing. It's, again, I think that almost preying on the unexpectedness right there, Reapers. You've just shot him to 1 HP. That should force him off, but instead he's just taken a slightly different angle. Again, the cover from that window, it's not safe, it's not secure. And the rest of the defense doing a great job. Like, they understand so well that bunkering down is all they need to do here because the Unks are proving unable to root them out. They have utility like the Capital, but they need to invest it so early on because of how many layers of defense is being set up in their way. They're using all 4 Capital bolts just to get access to Solarium, and then you're playing tight inside a cubby, you're playing tight inside a bathroom, and there's no utility left to root you out from what is normally considered an early defensive position.
Well, Unks definitely still have time to recalibrate. Ultimately, if they were to get a 3-3 half attacking on Chalet, it's still not the end of the world, and it is their pick, but it still feels like there's one step out of order here. So we'll see whether Joe can get the drop on them and get another early opening frag, but luckily, Ram is not in a position to get killed by that until Joe runs out and takes him down. So another round where the Unks do not get opening, the first man doesn't go to them. NMW will open with a kill that can't be traded because now Joe's already worked back to games room. And the only thing that Ram was able to do was use one boogie drone to open up what seemed like some fairly default vertical holes directly above site. So, I mean, you can take that impact for what it's worth, but Unks again, for yet another round, find themselves in a hole.
And now they've got into that top floor, but again, you've lost the Ram. You don't even have hard breach charges because you've opted into flashbangs because you probably should. You've got a Ram on the board. You'd expect that to be pretty safe to get open up. You can do it from outside. Now, Dread instead looking to once again establish that information inside the main lobby as the hatches interconnect to drop 2. Still concerned about potential flanks as Drone's going into piano as well. And you have that easy access up West Main because there's no pressure so far over by the back garage, over by Boiler either. It's been very one-dimensional for the Unks as now we're getting this drone set up to watch for cover, watch for flanks. They have identified a big stack up over on Blue, which they could try and push and get a first pick onto Reapers.
Nice,
Second
okay,
onto Joe
they do.
as well.
That wasn't bad. I'm a little bit surprised how they didn't notice the drone was right next to him, but hey, that's a phenomenal 2-piece and a great way to at least retain some control. I think they might still be worried about that flank because you're right, they were droning towards Library, but the only one that has to worry about is HUD, but Bless takes that down. So suddenly, Unks are definitely in the driver's seat. It's just a matter of where they force themselves down. There is a little bit of area denial that can still happen here if there's still Goyo left up. But there's not very many places for NMW to hide in at this point, so Unks can just do a whole bunch of individual pressure and get themselves into a spot where they can plant. They only have 2 flashes though, so not a whole bunch of cover that doesn't come from guns. It's all going to come from what everyone does with their active utility at the moment that the plant tries to go down. Thatcher might come in for a misdirection, will at least nullify Drix's crosshair, and then there comes that flashbang, but he's Warden, but he's not able to see anything at the minute. Ion does get all the way back to Boat and take him down, so now only from the blue position, one dies. Zolaris is still getting plant down, and there's no way that Tika has any idea where he's meant to look. He just walks into a massive crossfire, and that's a good way for the Unks to finally answer, even if the first round after the timeout didn't work.
That was perfect. Literally everything you could possibly want to see from a team was done by the Unks in that round. They lost an early pick, and they didn't let it stop them. They just assessed their goals. They want to have this main breach open. It's already done. They can have the Thermite come up and cover over by lobby. They've set themselves up. The drone flank coming through, recognizing that on the numbers that they have available to themselves, realistically, the chance of getting into Boiler, opening that up and playing for Wine, not really achievable. But they can focus solely on this main breach and on main stairs with the hatch open, the access to drop them as well. Really, really lovely. I mean, I will say, a bit fortunate to be able to get a 2-piece over in blue as well, right? But
True.
You have to take every advantage that your opponents are willing to give you. And the Unks, with the drone, spotting 2 people stacked up well, they put a flashbang in, immediately swung off of it. There's a Grismot going to try and slow you down. Doesn't matter. They want to push aggressively and find those picks to take the round into their own hands. And then the EMP lining up after the drone spots out the warden with the flashbang flying in from outside with the hatch drop in from lobby to catch him on the angle where he has no chance to contest. Oh, that is just perfect siege.
Yeah, it worked out. NMW also didn't have a terrible defensive strategy, especially if one of the strats is, hey Mira, run out front door real fast and find one. Like, it was a good opener. The stack up on blue, I think, had it not been for the one drone they just didn't shoot, would have been a great spot to hold, because it was a Mossberg op, whether it was Mute or a smoke, plus a Goyo in a position where they could have held that entire part of the site down for weeks if they wanted to. But just left a gap, a little bit too much intel that they let slip through, and it's just a drone right by their feet that enabled the Yunks to push right down blue, knowing that there's no way that they're going to expect us to push this. Hell no. But they still do anyway. So everything right now for the Yunks on that round is pretty good, but it's just a matter of finding the mistakes, the gaps that NMW were leaving them, because ultimately that's the reason they've been able to win 2 rounds so far.
And again, Blitz coming through this time. So the other shield operator, maybe an indication of wanting to move a little bit faster to close out their attacking half. And castle barricade put on the window to try and slow things down as the first E1D scan is set up to deliver. Still prying away at the early outsides. And again, a heavy extension from NMW upstairs. Got to deal with this. And we've seen the Unks be better in the last couple rounds at fighting into the utility. Very widespread. I am concerned with how they can use the time to get through this. We're already halfway through.
Once they establish library control, they're going to have plenty more that they can work through. It's just get one thing, step one, get any room, because everyone right now is still outside the building. No one's taken any control. They're just trying to force somebody into a bad spot here. NMW look like they've got power spots that they'll just continue to enjoy until they are forcibly removed. In comes a smoke. Blitz looks like he's already trying to take control now. He's got fireplace. He's got bar control. He's just working through every little direction, but he's the first one to die. It's again Reaper's in a great spot to shut him down. And there's another crossfire again as everything's starting to come together now. It looks like there's a little bit more orange in the kill feed, but Castle comes back. 3 versus 1. It's all up to Matt now in the midst of a scuffle initiated by that Blitz. Does he have 3 kills in his back pocket? He just might, but there's still vertical control. Yet again, another thing the Ungs have not gotten through has been directly upstairs. 40 seconds to go. At least grabs Joe. So let's take a second and listen on the comms real fast and figure out if Matt has these last 2 positions figured out.
I think about above, maybe.
They are on.
Yeah, switch cam.
Yeah, I think they're above. They're definitely watching your vert, by the way, on the walkthrough.
You want to know one problem there for me? He dies, and then there's nobody talking. Not a single person said anything. Unless that's production, like, cutting it off as soon as the round was over. If there literally wasn't anybody talking in that moment trying to figure out, hey, is there a way that we can come back in the next half? Is there a strategy that we want to implement when we start on our defense? Is it someone being like, nice try, I didn't even hear an NT in voice comms? Which that by itself is definitely a little bit concerning to me.
It is hard, right? Because you've come off of what was a great bounce back round. Staring down that 3-1, you pick it up, the momentum's, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. You go for an execute, and immediately just the worst possible things can happen, right? You lose your blitz running in, you lose your big window pressure. The defense are all just sat above still. So much verticality established for themselves. It really is a heartbreaker of a round to end a half on. I think there's some copium, right? And there's still the hope that it's just because it's the end of the half, right? We come through, you a bit deflated, but you have that time in between the mental reset of going onto the defensive end of things now, where you get that short little respite and you can go, okay, new half, new us. We're 4-2 down. We're staring at not the worst spot, right? I mean, Chalet, you always hear it. It's the map that is kind of leaning into the attacker side. The attackers are supposed to kind of have that upper foot. They can really put numbers on the board. But defense is still really strong, right? There's no shame in going down 4-2. I think the fashion in some of these rounds would have been less than desirable. But for the most part, you just have to look forward to the second half. And again, they're coming through, immediately setting up. And I like what I'm seeing from them already, right? It's incorporating this mirror upstairs to the hold. they're showing that even though they probably under-prioritized taking vertical when they were attacking these sites, they still understand its importance, and they want to hold very heavily. They got Banshees invested upstairs. They got Kibas that they're throwing to try and hold on tight. Mirrors being invested as well. This is looking promising to a fresh start here on Chalet.
NMW doing exactly what they have to do to stay alive in the finale. It will take winning 4 maps straight against 2 separate teams if they want to get from where they're currently sitting in dead last in the TPL division to move up into play-ins, and the team that they would be replacing in that 4th place spot if they were to accomplish that mammoth task is this UNC squad. So if they were to open that way, then great, and then go into a game against Turtle Tactics in just a couple of hours and hope to claim their spot. And they're only 3 rounds away from being 25% of the way done with that task. See how much further they can move through here. They've opted for Grim plus Hard Breach support, and they do have 2 flank operators. If they're worried about something coming up from a different staircase, maybe if they want to take solar control, if they want to work in from Mez, make sure no one comes up a staircase and flank somebody on an off angle. But the first option here is at least try to clear out a balcony or get a little bit of a power spot after having opened breach up, maybe take piano control. They are trying to work over from that side and solar at the same time, but again, they're concerned about flanks and they've brought the right operators for it.
I'm already much preferring the way that NMW are approaching this. They want to contest for all of this pressure above. They understand the importance of that vertical. And on the defensive end, they still have Dread, making these holes, trying to look up towards Big Window to contest. Is that going to be enough as the push starts to come through here? Creeping across, wanting to put that pressure on the door, but again, another Kiba being used early, blocking up the head as he gets aggressive onto the Big Window too, wanting to put No Man's Way on the back foot.
Still not getting super aggro on it yet. Ooh, finally does, and gets a peek right around the Kiba barrier. The first one to fall is Ions. Teak had his number. But now it's a matter of whether they can also take piano control. They've got half wall. Reapers does grab map cross map, so it's looking pretty darn good for NMW at this point. Flash through piano, but Joe's not working off of it yet. I think they're still worried about someone coming from an upstairs position. There's 2 guys looking at staircases behind sight, but with 50 seconds to go, there is only 1 player still half wall, but it's an attacker. And that Bless isn't even really sure if he knows where he wants to look quite yet. There's also still the solar pressure that's been happening the whole round, but we haven't had to look at it so far. There finally is the swing from Joe. He's now got piano control, and now the attack does have office, but they still need to make the drop before they go for a plant. So Dead and Solaris, they're not close to sight. Well, Dead is, but he might be the only reason that somebody doesn't immediately go in and try to get plant down. Only a couple seconds to go. Joe needs to work diffuser downstairs. There's still pressure, and suddenly Solaris is caught mid-reload. And now Dead has everything to do in what's effectively a 5v1. Ooh, 1 taps Reapers. Not bad. Still might have an opportunity. There's another one. They just continue to feed him frags. But Joe, the main reason NMW had any wins before coming into this game, is also the main reason why they're only 2 off match point now.
They just keep on going, unrelenting at the end. And when you're in a 1 versus 4, I mean, it might not be the most tactically sound, but numbers do win out sometimes, in that situation. Eventually you're going to run out of bullets on that TCSG, eventually you're going to get caught off guard, you just keep throwing them at him. And I mean, ultimately, for the Unks, I like the way they started off. Again, it's putting pressure on the attack from pretty early doors. The breach gets opened up. I like this aggressive Azami play, but you're punished for it, and almost everything falls to pieces. Once that Azami goes down, you now have this access in towards Half-Wall. You're isolated inside a piano and still afraid of presence from Highway coming through, because that window's been opened so long ago. Really, really good job from No Man's Way. Just they don't get themselves sort of thrown off their tempo. They make sure they're constantly the ones rolling the ball forwards. They're putting pressure outside of Trophy as well, and a fantastic pinch onto the Goyo on the back of Solarium stairs. Everything that's being done is keeping the Unks isolated from each other, so that the players that they have upstairs doing that full clean sweep of the top floor are so safe to do that with just this comfortable knowledge that there's nothing that's going to creep up from Solarium to reinforce the defense. There's nothing that can come up behind them on the flanks because they've invested cameras, they've invested air jabs from very early on. It's just a really disciplined attack.
It feels like they've also brought a similar operator complement to make that same top clear happen, about as effectively as they did last time. With the Fenrir on the board, Joe's opting the Brava pick instead. They were playing around with the Capital between a few different operators, but they'll just settle for a Grim and a Nomad. I do not understand why Jaeger's dead that early. From where in the hell? Was he really from outside? Was he just playing around like bottom fireplace, like playing around main? Is that it? All right, well, yet again, the Unks lose another opening pick. And again, they can't do anything to trade that, but they're the ones on defense. Do you now decide to consolidate everything close to the site, or do you try to hold those top floor spots? That's a pretty darn good answer. Ion just runs out Mez, grabs a pick, and again, that's not one that no MAMES WEY can trade. So you know what? Sure, 1 for 1, 2 minutes to go. Why not have a little fun here?
Does keep things more even than they were. Again, still this patience, probably aware of big map, chilling on Solarium, waiting for him to activate and try and get involved in the round as stuns coming through. Again, the power of Striker, just being able to be your own ADS clear. I mean, when Zero came out and he had frag grenades as well, we saw how impactful that could be. An excellent trade off of the information coming through from the mirror window as well. So yes, you lose your player inside a library, but you still have that meds control and information. But I think one was, no, they got him repelled. They didn't go for the aggressive stance inside. Now fighting for this horizontal control as well. Slightly less worried about Big Matt's presence. As he drops and gets knifed on landing through the hatch. Reapers just guns the last as well. I'm sorry, bro.
No, I got thrown for a loop too. Yeah.
You could just shoot him from the top.
I'm looking for where the attackers are, thinking, hey, so 2 vertical, 1 horizontal, they're going to try to pinch, that's fine. And then Reapers just does everything by himself in 2 seconds. NMW are on match point, and it happened in a flash. And again, Unks lose 1 early and then just get collapsed upon. But in this case, it was a little bit more of a hero play because NMW had somebody in just a perfect spot to grab 2 and then 3 kills immediately at the end of the round. So sometimes you look for more points to talk about for a round, and it just ends because there's an elbow drop from hell that you just completely aren't expecting. So Unks are in a hole. Again, this is their map pick, but this is exactly what NMW needed to do if they want to stay alive in their group here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You come in, make a statement, go into that concert, and you're smooth sailing from this point onwards. And 6-2 up. It's hard to say with the pattern that we've seen unfold with 2 attacking round wins now going both over to no MAMES WEY. They seem to have just something prepared for every scenario they're going to find themselves in, and this ability to move so quickly all at the same time, it's put the Unks in a situation where the moment one player starts to fall, right, that round they lose Bless so early on, and the amount of space that is immediately taken by no MAMES, right? They already have split control watching in towards Solarium. They're applying pressure inside a library, outside into the corridor. They're moving up into office as well. Everything just moves so quickly. Hey, we said at the end, right? Oh, Reapers gets a free K out of nowhere and the round's over. This is all happening because they get into these advanced positions and the Unks just don't know. They can't know.
Unks definitely need a little bit more fight back on Chalet because NMW are undefeated on Consulate with any lineup that they've put together so far with the 5 stack that they've got. Even if Joe is subbing in for Sneeze, not having lost Consulate over 5 plays does not bode well for the Unks when they have to go to map 2, but that one finally does. Reapers gets a little bit over aggressive and has his head taken off. So Unks have a little bit more space that they can work with. If they're able to put NMW into a spot where the 6th man ends up being the reason they lose the round, if they were to lose something on time rather than getting out-fragged in the first couple seconds, that would seem like a marked improvement for the way that Unks have not been able to waste too much time at this point. But there's still a top clear. They've got every single attacking player up toward Office and Solar trying to work over one side of the map, but if they were to leave a roamer in a really good spot, which is what it looks like Ion is trying to play that spot, and I guess technically Blessed because he can just teleport right back to site whenever he feels like it if that's where he's put the other bot up. Still plenty of time for them to work through it, but at least for right now, I don't mind these defensive positions.
Just gone past the halfway mark, and again, still presence on this middle floor. Scopos creeping back down blue onto the lower half, just to be ready to help out the rest of the squad. But the Clash, again, ready and waiting to be this pain that they have to try and just brute force their way through. Heber's being deployed on the door as well. So everything now sinking into this clock. You do have the Selma still in pocket to open up this back wall if you want to, but Joe needs to get a move on if he's going to rejoin with the rest of the squad as he comes down to the outside of blue, but it's so one-dimensional. I'm struggling to see how you actually make this presence stick. They want to run through onto the corner as well. 50 seconds is plenty of time to pull off an execute, but there's a Clash staring you down. There's full control inside of blue. All 4 bodies here for no MAMES WEY, all in the same corridor.
Only a couple of flashbangs if you want to use them for misdirection. A couple of VMPs in your back pocket. Maybe that's helpful against a Clash, but you don't have that much time, so you're going to have to work over this pretty quick. Frags will go in. At least knock out some pillar control, even if it doesn't kill anybody, but you still can't get to Ion. You would really love to frag at that point, especially with the Clash still holding onto this pillar position, and Kibas are still up. Monty will try to block a little bit and keep the Clash at bay while the Ace tries to go in, but there's still a crouch from the Azami, and now Case has been down. Even if Monty were to grab it, there still isn't too much time, but HUD does even the odds, though. The Clash is still going to make things even harder. It's one gun against two, and there's the crossfire from bottom west main. Not much you can really do about that one. Unks stay alive on their own pick.
All came down to chaos at the end, but when you have a Clash able to relay so much information, a great job by Ions to stay alive in spite of a great attempt, right? They throw down an EMP, it turns off any protection behind the Kiba, they bank the nade over the top. It doesn't even get rid of the Kiba, it just dips a little too deeply in. No MAMES WEY now are the team to call the timeout. They want to have a quick recollection of their thoughts. They've still got 3 rounds as a cushion. So let's see what they're trying to figure out.
Yeah, early round especially. They're giving us a chance to get info mid round. Like
Listen,
we're pretty aware
of
of
the
the
isolated, like K9 there, you need to be playing in a ways that you are invulnerable. You need to be like upside down, holding a pixel on the hop out or something. Something gay. Just play,
100%. I just didn't know the window was
play
open.
like you can't die, okay? Or play like you can't die. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That was W fucking timeout.
W timeout.
I mean,
W
fuck,
timeout.
bro, if
Are you
anything, it's just
fucking
to
talking
chill out with the
Yeah,
mental, you
it
know?
is. I like it. I get to handle my breathing. I get to check doom scroll Twitter.
Oh my
Wait, Drix,
god.
did you name Pillar last round?
Yeah.
I think my name might have gotten stuck like
Yeah.
whereabouts.
Yeah, I think it missed. Which is
I was
fine.
about to say, because this
Okay.
zombie was sitting cozy. Sitting cozy
Yeah,
on
he
the
was
pillar.
prone, bro. Look at that fucking guy.
I just wasn't a
I
good
get- I
spot.
do-
The ace charge was way too like on the
It's
left
good,
side.
It's good. It's all good,
So
but
I'm just exposed on the door.
if you just
Yeah.
couldn't do it, just say something. We could have
Yeah.
waited. Like I
Well, at least the vibes are high. That's good to know on their
That's so
side. Aside
funny.
from some words we won't repeat as commentators, but it is what it is for game comms. I think the big thing, because that round was so hectic, for them to just say, hey, calm the nerves a bit, take things a little bit more step by step, and make sure that it's not, we actually can take advantage of the chaos if we're in a moment like that. That's kind of all that I needed to hear, and that is the position they find themselves in. Even if they were to drop one round in the midst of a ton of stuff going on to the Yunks, all they have to do is win one over the course of their next 4 because they've bought themselves so many match points. So they're sitting in a good spot and they know it.
Getting a direct contrast between the two as well. Eye-opening stuff. We have the Ongs on one hand, you know, they haven't got that same sort of enthusiasm coming in behind their plays. On the flip side, no MAMES, they're preparing their tweets. They're ready to doom scroll on TikTok. I mean,
Someone needs to stop them.
20 seconds into a timeout, and we're already just glazing how good the timeout has been so far. Like, I'm sorry, the level of seriousness coming through is like exactly what you need in this situation.
I couldn't
For a
tell if
team
they were
that,
glazing the timeout, like the goated call of when it happened, or if they're like, hey, we have the best timeouts. It's a party in here.
don't even, and both could be true at the same time, because honestly, that
They
was a
could,
good
but I'm
vibe.
afraid to ask which it is if it's both.
But you just come through and it's like, it's exactly how you need to be approaching this when you got four maps potentially that you ideally wrap it up in 4 if you want to make it to the next stage. Have the good vibes, ride that enthusiasm and that momentum.
Well, still only about 2 minutes away from being 25% of the way done on their unholy quest to win 4 maps straight tonight. If they were to lock this in, and then go to consulate, again, that's ultimately going to be the big factor for NMW. If they can win a whole bunch of consulate attacks on their own map and win this thing 2-0, then they're looking pretty good when they go to face turtle tactics. A lineup that does have, it's pretty varied on intel plus flank plus execute utility. They've got options for how they want to approach this. They do have bar stock positions. I think they're aware that there's at least one bar, but I think they would do well to make sure that they do have the upstairs positions also isolated, but they're coming in from basement and then they'll be able to work their way up, make sure that they get bar stock cleared before they do anything else, and Kaid's not even going to do anything. He'll keep one electric claw in pocket, but he will let that one fall. So about 1.5 minutes, it's all about how much util they're able to clear. So far, no one's even had to worry about engagements thus yet.
No one lurking around inside a mud this time. It's the attack taking that. Not going to get caught off guard again. Teak just hanging around. I like the pull out the asphyxiation bolt as well already, but they check stock and there's no one there. I mean, you've ripped open the wall next to them, so they can't really sit comfortably. Getting that late reinforcement put up by the Kaid to give them that space inside a bar to play in that stead. They have a nitrocell angle they can contest onto the big window. That's the new objective, and it's a lot harder to clear out from the stance that No MAMES WEY currently have, but they still want to line it up with the Capitao. Again, limit the movement of this defense. There's that little bit of pressure upside the library where they're not getting aggressively peeked from the hatch. That's the opening that they need.
Man, they're really going to pray that they can get the Capitao or whoever in to plant past the smoke right now. That's their only plan. There's 2 Nitros that can stop them, but here come the smokes. They just want to plant in the default position and get in there and get out as fast as possible. But if it doesn't work, I'm not sure what other plan they're going to have. Both Nitros have been used. Actually, no, Zolaris dies before he can even use his, but now Case has been down. You have to get into a different position to use it. Luckily, the attacking crossfires are still there, but no, Case has been downed again because Kaid is still behind the bar. He'll whip out the pistol. It falls to Joe. 10 seconds left. The crossfires on defense were just a little bit better, and the Yunks now 2 rounds in a row, they're starting to put things together and keep their own map pick alive.
Consistently, we have seen teams not put the respect into clearing above Jacob, and I think this comes back to it again here. Look, Kaid, it's a great adaptation to reinforce off bar, but it's a spot that is usually so dangerous to play in because the attack are just going to rip open the floor, they can get the vertical down onto you, they are always going to have that library presence above, and they start pushing down blue and control all of that main corridor. Why does the retake happen? It's because as you jump in through, you have Kaid still contesting you from inside a bar, looking to the rotate down towards the plant point. It forces this aggression where you have to go aggressively into stock. You have to overcommit into the site. And the moment Teak goes down inside a mud, so much space opens up for the Unk to start flooding in through the blue corridor. They can peek in. Legion just runs into sight, uses the smoke almost as a little cover for himself to charge in and take down the planter. Yeah, you trade him out, but that has set the whole round into chaos because there's no longer that backup inside of bar. You need to have that above control. I think it just really smooths things out when it comes time to that push. We've seen it for both reasons now. Look, there was no one up in library. They're not looking down and killing you on the vertical, but you not having it yourself gives so much space.
Man, I really thought the Tuberau ban would have meant that everybody would have been more than happy to go upstairs and take vert control. But no, everyone is just allergic to going upstairs tonight for some reason. On both attack and defense for Unks, it feels like they didn't do it themselves, but then they can take advantage of not getting pushed when they've got those positions on lock. We'll see if NMW recognize that's the main thing they have to focus on. Start pushing from that side, but this is yet another round where they put someone downstairs watching for a flank immediately, and then they'll be able to work their way up staircases as opposed to down. There aren't too many offside plays right now, with the exception of Bless, who is still several rooms away from the closest anti-roam op, which at this point is basically just Reapers. Is he going to make a push? He will! It's very ill-advised. Bless is watching bottom west main, probably had a call for it. And the Yunks, so far they've been doing good when they get opening picks, but we'll see if that can maintain here and if Bless can hold on to that power spot in dining.
And they're still leaning on this trophy window to try and come through in tandem with it. Ion's now coming in to lend that support. So yeah, you have the intel coming through, but WEY giving a lending hand makes it again impossible for this attack to push. And so they're dropping down below to try and figure out something new. They tried to deal with it, and they go underneath to the hatch. Okay, that is spicy tech. I did not see that coming, but there's still one more just around the corner. The drone's coming through, so they will be aware.
Well, at least they've got backup for their roams, but it still falls onto Ions to get a little bit frisky around a corner, but he'll die in the rotate. Can't do anything on that end. There's no one else to trade him back on that side. Matt's got one. Zolaris. Suddenly, Unks have control again. It looked like NMW might have just swung it in their direction, but if only for a second. They'll still have to do even more of a clear, and one player is inside the building and the other one's not. But none of them have gotten to site yet. They've not decided to work over half wall. They're just trying to pressure from Solar. But now Drix has control, so Joe might have an angle to repel in safely, especially with the bees there. Still hasn't done it quite yet. There's the first smoke. Now both of them are at the top of the stairs. So you've got 50 seconds left, but I think at this point the Unks know that the only 2 players that they have to deal with are now on one side of the map here.
Are pushing through with his utility, but again, a closer, so no rotate available. You're locked inside a bathroom if you want to keep going down this channel.
Too much time. Still playing around a smoke. Nitro will take down Drix. Darn. This is as far as the Unks are concerned, one after another would be great. Unless Joe, he doesn't. Oh, there's one right next to him. No, he just doesn't have any idea through the smoke. He might have had a chance to bring that one back. But so far, it's the Unks bringing it back. That's 3 straight. And for all those match points that NMW bought themselves, this is now their last one.
It's a little shaky. As again, it's all coming down to these defenses just setting themselves up so much better, right? I mean, the Unks, they didn't call a timeout for themselves. They somehow, just after those first 2 of the half, figured it out. Because since then, they've always had someone watching for a trade. They've been much better about putting themselves in careful positions when they're leaning aggressively, right? We're seeing the Sentry downstairs going for these aggressive peaks, wants to take a gunfight, wants to encourage the jumping from Trophy, wants to encourage aggression coming in from West Main, and pick them off one at a time. But always this level of threat available. Verticals and Solariums. The Goyo can watch down to watch the jump in. If you need to engage on a fight on one side, they have verts it up in Bathroom. Everything is done to create this very extravagant network where the moment No MAMES WEY walk forwards, someone is going to be looking at them, ready to catch them off, and there's going to be some very quirky angle that you just aren't ready to fight back against. That was the biggest thing that was missing before, where everything was very face up from the Unks, and we saw what No MAMES WEY were able to do, right? They could take their time, they could peel off Keepers, they could start pushing and opening up like walls coming down to looking at the bottom of Solarium. They got all the information they needed and could sort of put the puzzle together. Now it's much more like the attack of getting halfway through, and then you rip the puzzle in half, you give them a new set of half and go, figure out how this one connects, and it just isn't supposed to. Much better job by the Unks to make things just harder to crack.
We'll head down to Garage, and there is Ion's playing Master with the Zombie, so he's very far away, but will still provide some noise that NMW have to deal with first before going for an execute. Unless they just want to burst right in after opening up all the walls and try to plant as fast as possible. They've got smokes and some cover to do it, and they're not contending with a clash this time. While they work on basement, they are playing against a Maestro, so again, trying to plant within those smokes might be a pain in the ass unto itself, so there will need to be that util clear first. There's a lot that the defense has already decided to set up, and again, 2 roamers, 2 floors above bomb, because Mozzie has also now decided to join the Zombie upstairs. We'll see if No MAMES WEY have an answer for this. They've decided flank watch is going to be passive when we bring the gridlock in and just use tracks to clear them out. They've also brought 2 hard breaches, and they've had absolutely no trouble getting all of the walls open that they need. Even with a mute jammer there, it's basically done nothing. So if they're able to open up Boiler now, I think they're going to have all the avenues they need to push in and try to get plant down.
Nice to get information on those Goyo canisters as well, because that's something that is going to disrupt your final push in through, especially you toss a Nitro Cell over the top or throw an impact around the corner. The breach opening up, I mean, maybe if it's close enough, it'll hit them as they go. No, it hasn't done that. Oh, no, it has. For one of them, at least.
They got at least
That's
one,
always
yeah.
nice. Yeah, second popped open from the breach immediately afterwards as well. So 20 seconds going, you still have 50 seconds left on the clock. The time management from No MAMES WEY here has been so much better on this second outing on the attack onto basement. Nades coming down through as well. It looks like whatever they discussed on their timeout after this last attacking round is paying off for them until Zolaris is able to find your Thermite peeking up. But Reapers is still there to get the diffuser back.
50 seconds to go. There is still time. You might still be worried about this blue position, a little bit about Pillar, even if you've opened up both walls successfully. Maestro can just do one LMG swing and your entire attack gets stalled before it has the chance to go anywhere. But you also are forcing Mozzie plus a Vector to look outside, even if that's not the spot where the take is happening. Just the fact that the wall is open should be enough misdirection here. But you have got both smokes still. As long as HUD stays alive, it's going to give Reapers enough that he needs to push right in. I think the Maestro Cam at least knows that he's right there, and he does, just waiting for it to pop up. That's all the space that they need to get Plant down, even if they were to lose HUD, but he's done his job. Tez now also been down. Plant is in, and now the Unks have to force a retake. Great moment for Bless to just wait in the back, but Joe has an answer. Dead is just a living drone for the moment in Connector. It's just a matter of whether NMW can actually get out of here alive. They're holding the Fritz position, and Joe's got it down, but Dead has been revived, so it's still a 2v2. They have to come back into blue, but now time's a wasting. They've got vertical control. This might be where it all falls apart for the Youngs. Does the comeback happen? It may not anymore. Bless has everything to do by himself because now he has to concern himself with finding an ace plus one upstairs. But even if he looks at hatch, that's not a position that Reapers needs to expose himself to. He just has to wait for a brief second, pop up over the hatch, pop a headshot with the SMG. Wasn't even a headshot. NMW, their quest to win 4 maps straight is off to a fantastic start.
3 more to go. It's all you need. And honestly, again, it comes down to just a really well thought out timeout. It comes through, they lose 3 rounds on the trot afterwards. It doesn't matter because they go back down to that basement. They figure out what's going on. The nades thrown in deeper this time. They were much quicker, not wasting time dealing with a roam game that ultimately doesn't impact them the way that they're setting up for it. They do a great job just standing in into kitchen. They get the hatch open. They're able to play this safely. A really great improvement to see, and the good, not momentum. What's the word I'm thinking of? Not vibe, but that kind of spirit. You get what I'm going for. Where
I get what you
they're
mean.
not letting the losses get to them. Mental. That's it. The mental game. They're not letting the losses come to them. They come back in. They close it out before that OT is even necessary.
And that was the Yunks map pick. They currently sit in 4th. NMW are trying to knock them back out of 4th, and they're heading to Consulate next, which again, over the past couple weeks, they have yet to lose over several plays. We'll take a timeout. We'll head to break. We'll come back with Consulate, but for right now, NMW are looking really damn good. There aren't that many scheduling instances where you have to play 2 BO3s back-to-back. This just, unfortunately, happens to be one of them for NMW. They open up fantastically. They end up getting a lead as big as 5-2 over the Unks on their own map pick, and then lock in just enough when they've got match point. It takes all the way until round 12, but ultimately, final scoreline doesn't matter. It's just winning the map. So now the Unks, I think everyone had an allergy to anything to do with vertical in that map, but NMW were able to capitalize, and now they're going to go on to a map that is super favorable for them in map 2.
Yeah, and they have the track record on Consulate coming through. It's a map that, again, is going to lean into this sort of very tight gameplay where we've seen a lot of these pushes through. I like the incorporation of things like the Clash and the Monties coming in. And they work great on Consulate. Also, you know, like, you have to play 4 maps, right? If we're saying, you know, we're going on this, like, you kind of need to win all 4 maps you're going to play tonight. You need to 2-0-2-0 if you want that chance of skyrocketing up the standings.
There you go.
But that's basically like 8 ranked games. That's like a casual Tuesday night before you have to go to bed. You know, like that's nothing. 8 ranked games is a easy run at things. It is going to be obviously a little bit more intense than your standard ranked games, as our last game kind of showed off, right? I mean, the 7-5 right at the end, where you have this really big lead, you're sitting at 6-2, it starts to creep back in. Being able to hold your composure in those tense moments is a really valuable skill to have. And now you've just done the hard part, right? You've beat the Unks on their map pick. You're coming into Consulate. You have a very good track record coming through. You have that confidence going. I mean, we had their listening. These guys are flying high. Don't know what on, but they're flying high. And now they get to come through. The one danger is they're starting out on attack, right? And it's always going to be difficult trying to break down this attack on Consulate. But you said it before, they played CLB. They were able to put, 4 on the board?
Mm-hmm.
CLB, they're a good Consulate team in their own right. So, by transitive properties, hey, that's a recipe for success.
The numbers for No Mama's Way on cons are 5-0 since they put this lineup together, and that was back in the first qualifier for the finale. It wasn't realistically all that long ago.
No.
So the fact that they are undefeated at that level is impressive until you look into it a bit deeper and realize the reason that they have that many wins mostly comes down to playing Consulate in the best of ones in that qualifier against teams that aren't nearly as impressive as them on paper. So it might be a little bit of Consulate farming, but the big thing, like you mentioned, is getting a 4-2 attacking half on cons against CLB only a couple days ago, last time they played it, and walking out with a win in regulation, didn't even have to worry about overtime. So the fact that they start on attack shouldn't be the world's biggest deal to them. They come in knowing they like the map. I think Unks at this point should at least be aware that it's a map that they relatively enjoy. So I wonder if the bans are going to follow anything specific to the map, but so far both attacker bans are the exact same as they were. Unks just do not want to deal with Ying no matter what. They are happy to leave another shield up there, leave a Doke up there in some facets, and a Valk being taken off the board doesn't make sense. So what else do the Unks do to try and slow down this attack half? Well, I mean, when they get to defense, what are they taking away from themselves? Do they want to throw some useless utility out the window?
Just another tub or something?
Make life a little bit easier on themselves? What do they want? All right, fine. A little bit less flexibility, but you still keep plenty of other defensive options open. It was either that or maybe a Clash, maybe a Kaid, maybe a Fenrir. The fact that Fenrir is alive right now on a map as tight and claustrophobic as Consulate, that's going to be a problem that NMW have to seep through here.
Immediate pickup of the 2-Bram as well. It was taken away from us last map. You coming through, I mean, it makes sense, right? You're playing it down in that basement. You want to keep the wall locked up for as long as possible. I'm interested to see what the approach is here for No Mame's Way. Whether they want to try and focus on that garage side, a more sort of traditional push, or as we start to see the rise in popularity of this backside take through the servers. But yes, you're funneling yourself down these corridors, and well, there could have been a Fenrir. It's not being brought. But you still got like the Legion to try and contend with. Again, though, with Bless picking up this Vigil, I'm expecting a lot of action to happen off of the site, at least in the first minute to 2 minutes of the round. Something we saw all the time on Chalet was lots of gunfights away from the site, with roamers trying to buy up as much of that clock as possible. And Consulate, again, you already mentioned it, right? It's very tight, very constricted. If you can fall back away, there's not these long angles to pick your roamers down on. You can disappear into the maze.
We already know that. I mean, Bless wasn't super on his game on Chalet, but I do think this is an environment where he absolutely should be able to turn things up here. And Unks are going to need him too, because I think it was through the first couple of rounds they still hadn't found a frag. They were attacking and it made things a little bit harder, but again, I think Unks would just probably prefer that shell lane never sees the light of day ever again. So we'll see how fast they're able to stop this take-in from No MAMES WEY. Nothing is super obvious about it yet. Echo will go upstairs and I think probably just drone for the Vigil up top. Definitely not using that for anything other than just giving him a little bit of support. We'll stick up an admin. Dax brought a... Yep, it's like that. I'm thinking they brought 2 hard breach. They brought someone to help out with that roam clear in the Jackal, and then they just have a little bit more util. And then once they can get the Ram in position to start using the boogie drones on vertical, then that's what they're going to end up doing with it. But I feel like it's an early roam battle, and then we'll start getting to the execute here.
I do appreciate the patience coming through, right? I think No MAMES WEY, knowing that if they get this opening pick, things start to roll pretty quickly, especially when you're playing for that garage side. You don't need a whole lot of time available to close out the end, but still, this Teller's presence going around with Kaid now coming upstairs as well. The footsteps should start to come through and give them that insight into what's being set up. That should be the Legion, though. So don't want to eyeball too hard onto that as the Nitro Cell comes through for the first pick. As the second goes down, losing your Hibana.
Damn, those might have been the worst 2 ops to lose. Now you can't do anything on vertical because you lost the boogies before they could even get used, and you lost half the hard breach you need to even try for an execute. So that Nitro to kill the Ram was brilliant, but then getting a Hibana right afterwards? Already the Unks look like they're just trenched in, and they're sitting really good right now. The least you can do is maybe get some of these lurkers that are just a little bit off site, but Drix is going to get hit by this Legion over and over again. 2 of them will try to get him up spiral, but all they'll do is cross back. So Drix will stay alive, but you haven't even done anything to clear out someone like the Vigil. So even if you have a little bit of top floor clearance right now, it's still probably not going to be enough here.
Still looking through the vertical angles. Again, this is your only avenue to really get back into this round, is to find some picks on angles that the Unks aren't expecting you to go for. Drix is still so much to do by themselves as the only person pushing down through spiral players on both sides.
30 seconds left. It's an opportunity to smoke in and at least try to get some isolation kills here, but Drix needs to hit basically every shot, but then Legion's got backup as he storms through the smoke, and they still don't even have garage wall open. And there's really nothing that Joe can do from this spot. Maybe T can grab an easy frag, but Unks have 15 seconds to just sit in some shadows and not peek up for any reason. Finally does get the wall open, but it is a flawless round for Unks to open up on defense, and that's a phenomenal way to answer on NMW's map pick.
Yeah, it's just a bit sad, really, isn't it? Like, you just sort of come through and you're like, okay, we got things rolling. I liked the patience at the start that we were seeing come through from No MAMES WEY. They weren't over-committing, trying to hunt anyone down, and the Jackal ping comes through, and they're like, oh, there's Legion, and immediately they lose 2. Again, they finally committed, like, okay, it's safe to start walking in. Nitro Cell, well placed by Zalaris to blow up the Ram. And I mean, yeah, I'm not quite sure how Hibana got caught. I think maybe inside a yellow. But either way, it's diabolical start to the round for them. And again, the Unks are doing everything they need to do at the end of that, right? They keep the main breach closed. That's the pairing of the 2 Brown with the Kaid. No EMPs coming through, so you needed that vert inside a piano to be able to start crossing through breach. Never gets achieved. There's still so much focus being put on it. Like, with 20 seconds left in the round, I don't think we can be laying down an exothermic charge on an external breach. I think we missed the boat on that one. A little bit too
We probably did.
Just like, at that point, Storm Yellow maybe gives the Jackal some support, because he's still trying to make things work. Like, bless Drixis. He's pushing forwards, but not enough to come from it. And the Unks, again, just like triple stacking at the bottom of the staircase, waiting for the Jackal. That's what you need to do in that situation. Just completely stomp out any hope.
Love to see if both teams are a little bit cleared up of their vertical play allergy for map 2, because in map 1 there were so many setups that were dedicated to holding from up top that simply were never cleared. But Ions will open up on HUD, so the Unks are winning the opening pick battle so far through both rounds in this second map, which is great. But HUD would have been used presumably. I mean, honestly, if you were to lose to a Brava, that's probably the one op you can maybe afford to not have for this execute. Like, attacks are already difficult enough on console, but if you were going to lose anybody in an opening engagement, at least it's that one. Oh, Ella gets caught. Reaper's just coming up Visa, probably not even expecting someone to be all the way up that high. He has a Mossberg immediately to his left. I think he's noticed that there's one there, but the shotgun doesn't win the fight. Hello? Reapers is made of steel. And now he can start pushing towards side. Even if he's got 1 HP, that's enough to call with at this point, even if he doesn't take the execute himself.
Reaper's magic comes big to keep NoMame's way in this round and put them ahead. I think the Unks are starting to feel a little less safe upstairs, but still this vertical presence and so much open looking down into the B site. Mira able to hold their ground by themselves, so you're not too concerned at this early stage, as you are going to lose the window access looking down through meeting. 1 minute 20 is plenty of time to buy out. For me now, the question comes down to NoMame's way. How can you wrap around? Because just pushing through 2 doorways, it's so easy to contest back against you. A lot of space being given over to Baguette. Capcan hiding away should be droned out. This is where the ball really needs to start rolling. You need to start collapsing on them.
Silhouettes are about to collide here, especially from that long desk position. If Ions is just going to wait in bathroom, waiting for his moment to pounce, that's going to be a great spot to sit in, but he also could get cleared at about the same point too, because it's still a 4v3. 50 seconds left. They've got way more projector control at this point, and everyone else on the Unks is just sitting back on the yellow and bathroom side of the map, but they are just waiting for their moments to strike because sight is still downstairs. Ash wins that one against Capcan. Absolutely no way. Suddenly you don't have that resource, and he was just lurking, lying in wait. Everyone's still playing this vertical position. There's 2 players from NMW who are on 1 HP. Breathe on them and they're gone. But even a Vector's not able to get the job done, so now Matt and Zolaris, 2 SMGs against the world in the same room. They're just going to wait for their moment, but it doesn't even end up working out that way. Zolaris does at least down Teak. Reapers is still alive though. Joe needs to get into a position to plant. Zolaris absolutely can stall this at 10 seconds to go if he doesn't expose himself to a bad angle. He'll wait for his moment. Plant is going down in the corner to his right, but there's just too many things to look at. There's a drop from multiple players at the same time. Plant almost goes down, but finally Zolaris does get caught. So it took a second, but the attack gets one back.
And of course, Huds is immediately just getting in the all chat, just like, yeah, I might have died first. Team didn't even need me. Easy job, boys. No stress at all. It's not like Reapers just have to walk up and get a double kill to keep us alive, right?
He's made of freaking titanium, dude, against that smoke. What happened, man?
He's dropped to like 1 HP, right? That is a really unfortunate spread with the shotgun there. Like, you're thinking that's what, a pixel closer on target, and he's just gone. I mean,
how does how does Mute whiff that? How does Capcan whiff that? It's just 2 on defense. You're not supposed to miss right there, man.
Ridiculous speed. I mean, the red bar that shows that you're on low HP is exceeding the HP bar. It's it feels a little rough to get caught out like that, but again, it's ultimately, why are these close engagements with ARs going favorably? Because they're landing their shots in the head. They've got the angle set up beforehand, right? They are pre-aiming, they're lining up where the head height should be, and they're making sure that their shots count quickly on these aggressive swings. Unks just caught off guard by it, and then later on, you're holding on top floor, removing the mirror window. You deny that long line of sight, which again gives so much influence upstairs because mirror can hold, look down long, look down into meeting, see what's going on and relay that information to the Capcan. You now keep him blind in that situation. It enables this aggressive play. It's really nice from NoMame's way just to keep on going. And I mean, this is nice from the Unks as well, to be fair to them, right? You're stacking up all this utility. It's going to be a lot to deal with. But ultimately, I think we're seeing from NoMame's way, they figured it out here on Consulate. They know how to break through.
This was also screwing with me for a second because we were watching a normal Consulate get played and then HUD brought a shield op. I'm like, now we're back in current meta for a second. So HUD will take Blitz, and I'm curious where it will get put here. Have the option of, because now they've moved into top floor, they want to come from admin and just put pressure toward long desk side, or at least get projector open that way. If they want to put them on the balcony as soon as they get the external single panel opened up. Blitz can go in a lot of different ways to cause a lot of havoc. Or even if they just want to do the standard, put them on yellow and try to clear out con and make sure that they can work from that side of the map. Ultimately, the first time that NMW get into the site or into the map is just through admin, so they'll take that side, and we'll see where else they want to pinch from as they work over this top floor.
It's the classic make noise, be scary. Trying to walk up forwards. Does hear the nitro cell, so I think that's just above the doorway. Can't really walk in, trying to bait it out. not done. Just the Mossberg getting aggressive, but again, Ions, when you think he'd have the advantage getting taken to critical HP, has to back away and give that space, but there's so much defensive layering set up to keep this corridor locked down.
Nitro Cell also just takes Tweak down to about 20. Doesn't kill him, so 2 golden chances for the Unks to get defensive kills on their side immediately. Just don't quite work out. But now through a smoke, they're still going to make their push, and Ion's right up, might have another one as soon as he looks over, but he has to get past the Blitz first, but the Blitz ADSs and wins the fight instead. So HUD will give his team an advantage, and so will Reapers just outside. Big Matt in a lurk position at 50 seconds can pop up whenever he feels like, and there's still shotguns to contend with. Plus, depending on how close the fear gas got put towards site, as soon as NMW were to push toward projector, which seems like the only place that they can really get down to get diffuser in, gonna cause a lot more havoc with only this much time left. We'll watch the hallway, waiting for anybody to pop through that side. And again, Drix is only on 2 HP. Zalaris uses that last toxic canister already, and now Teek's already been down, but again, he only had 2 HP, so now they just have to push through with everything they've got. Reapers has also been downed now, so it turns into a 2v3. Zalaris gets downed by HUD, but now he might have to do everything himself because Drix only has 2 HP left, and Case is still not in their control. 10 seconds to go. HUD is still trying to affect entry. Nope, they do have Case. Drix is trying to put it down. Another ADS frag. HUD is trying to do everything solo, but it simply isn't going to work because all Matt has to do is run away, and the Youngs grab another one on defense, but just by the skin of their teeth.
He's actually doing everything in that round. It's the push-up spiral staircase that demands so much attention coming in from long, but the defense masterfully hold on against this admin side push. Again, it's just this overwhelming stack up. They have FNATs above the kitchen doorway. You can't walk through into the corridor to contest. They have the Vulcans set up as well, but Goyo playing behind Soda. Warden aggressively sat on the shield just on the other side of the doorway too, so you're giving them a very hard to root out crossfire to deal with. Paired with the fact that you've got plenty of barbed wire and FNATs at the bottom of the staircase ready for the potential push. I mean, last time it was HUD's, right, where he just charges at the staircase and gets in your face. This time they have that insurance plan set up in motion, so they're not going to get caught off guard. It's a great adaptation from the Unks, recognizing the openings that they gave when, again, it wasn't the top floor site, but they needed that presence up above to protect down into Piano and into Exhibition. This time, when you don't have that downstairs concern, they're showing what they can bring to the front lines to keep No MAMES WEY at bay.
Still feels like a round that NMW could have won, though. I think a little bit of misdirection to someplace else to get the Youngs to look in a bad spot, or even if they didn't lose so much HP early on to those initial engagements and they were able to just push through the smoke a little bit more reliably. I feel like half of it was Grim he can't push through a Toxic Babe because he's on 2 HP, and he did that in the very first engagement. So the only round so far that was a 100% Unks confident win was this site in round 1 when they won it flawlessly, because they made sure that there was no vertical pressure. They killed the Ram early. They had 2 very fast picks before No MAMES WEY had any real map control at that point. Yeah. So now we'll see if they're able to move through just a little bit faster, and they have opted for a shield where they didn't take it in round 1. So even just no Ram, add a Monty to the mix, you still have hard breach because Joe will stick to it, and you've also got passive flank watch in case somebody is playing up top, which because you're garage, it's kind of expected. Looking a lot different for NMW, but for Unks, they just kind of have to sit back and wait for everything to get opened right now.
Not completely sold by the approach so far, where they've kind of tried to hit both sides a little bit with HUDs and now all the way over rotating across. They've got a Maverick to try and prevent any tricking, but again, this makes it really difficult for the Thermite to walk up because you got holes you can potentially be shot in the feet. They've also got a Kaid, which is going to make things even more difficult. So we're trying to stack it up, a little bit of damage dealt by the Bandit batteries. But with EMPs committed as well, I mean, fair play, they put so much more into getting that breach open. It's been a critical point for them, clearly highlighted by EMPs, Ooh. Maverick, and then you lose your Maverick because he's still toying around on that breach when he just doesn't need to.
Still, also no one's in Piano. Every single blue silhouette was just sitting outside blue with the exception of Gridlock, who's in server trying to do something on that side, but no one's exposing to a peak. This time the Mossberg works out, and now you can do smoke cover. It's still a 4v3 effectively. And even if the Monty were to make that push, you maybe get a little bit of intel, but it's not going to do anything against a Castle who still holds this vert. Why is no one going upstairs today? Someone make it make sense to me. Castle can just hold on to it for as long as he feels like and maybe grab one pick, but it's just going to be a slow death. He'll grab the first one, and the last man up is just the shield op who has to contend against 3 people rushing into yellow. And the Yunks, even if it's a map that No Mom's Way like, Unks on defense are looking pretty stellar.
This has to have been some random farming.
It might have been, yeah. We'll take a sec. We'll see what NMW have to say in this timeout here.
I was just calling ops, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to like look like at who's playing what. I'm assuming that everyone is actually picking what they should be. Like, I'm trying to drone the setup to see what to like best push. But like, yeah. I mean,
Either way,
I'm gonna be honest. A lot of these rounds are like close, but we just keep giving kills away and not listening to like our teammates. Like
I'm telling you, bro. Like these next 2 rounds are gonna be upstairs. That favors our play style and the way that things are gonna work. I'm telling you, we should full team sweep.
Okay.
Literally, like we should literally full team sweep. If they're gonna be piano again, let's work our util. Make sure we don't get C4 and walk at them. Like literally sit behind a drone and get 2 or 3 people to just run at them and pull
always have a
trades.
guy Visa
That's
stairs.
fine.
We should get a guy in
We
Visa.
can do that. We can do that. But I'm telling you, we should full sweep across and play behind drones. We can play it slow. Like once we get our space, like I can just drone out everything and then we can get ready to walk.
Can we get the pro wall with like Ace?
Bro,
Like, let's get pro wall with Ace because like all they do is they have EMPs for it. We could Ace the pro wall and then Ace the
we do that. I think we do off rip.
We could.
Dude, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing they know what's up. They got to put someone yellow. They should put someone pro wall. They're going to do a full sweep. They'll sit behind drones. They'll clear. Are they going to play vertical? Let's go. I hope. It might happen. We'll see.
Bro. If they don't after that, I'm going to be on full tilt. There's no shot you can sit there. Like, it's just, we open... I appreciate that we're adapting, okay? Like, we didn't get breach open until 20 seconds. We shouldn't have even bothered at 20 seconds, but we got breach open at 20 seconds. We'll take the wins that we get. This time, they got the Maverick, they got the EMPs, they got a Monty to try and brute force their way through, and literally nothing else for it. So, let's just get a nice little middle ground where we can acknowledge that there's some things we need to do, but EMPs would have been enough. And then we can also play for verticality, because, again, they're committing to a full sweep. They've identified the full sweep as necessary. Look, it's not the site they maybe thought it was going to be. It's Tellers and Server instead. But this is still a very doable take for this same approach. It looks like they're still lining up towards admin side, which, again, I don't dislike. I think you can still do it. You don't need to start by CEO. But they've said full sweep. They've got the Jackal all the way over by the window. I could see them doing it, actually going for this and clearing out the Unks. And if they get in a situation where they can start opening up this verticality, where they can take real control over Tellers and deny the Nitro cell to stop the plant, this is lining up to be a really just concise attack.
They'll at least put drones in like every corner of the upstairs to make sure that when they do go for that full clear, no one's in a really weird spot. Teague takes a little bit of damage, but he'll still be able to assist in that sweep if that's still the plan that they want to go for. And if you can also force Ion to go downstairs. See, the problem is even if you force him, then suddenly he's on another floor below site where you have to be. So then you're watching for flanks from above and flanks from below at the same time. Even if he's playing low ground, once you force out the mute, he's just going to go somewhere else. So you really need to get this frag here. You need to open up with this to start with. So we'll see if they can clear him. And then also simultaneously work over everything upstairs. That's a great swing. Reapers gets him immediately. So... good start, but it took about half the round to get somebody who was on the same site as one of the bombs. So we'll see if they're able to work over the rest of this clear here.
The pressure coming through from Teak as well. Identifying the importance. And again, this is the second time where players crossed past an open hatch just after they've been set down. Zolaris now on it, but no one there to find. And I think that's why Reaper's got the kill as well, right? They're looking down through that kitchen hatch, but don't find anything. Dead has to be very cautious on this engagement because, again, you start losing bodies on site, it becomes super dangerous as bodies start collapsing from the side of the Unks, and that's the go button for No Means Way.
Waiting for the Vector to make the swing back and maybe find the ace. Oh, no, ace has his number instead. Might have been good for 2 if you're able to win that engagement, but now Bless has to ace this one out. He can make the rotate back up because the entirety of the defense or the entirety of the attack decided, you know what, it's split site. We're going to go basement and not concern ourselves with A. So everyone's downstairs. No one's going to give him any opportunity, he will have to come down to their level and meet them. There is one on the horizontal, and that's going to be the one that finds the frag. Reapers is good for 2 in this one. So that clear worked out great, and I almost wonder if the defense said, hey, they might expect us to go piano, so let's go split side and try to misdirect, and it didn't work here.
I mean, it's interesting as well, Greg, because the talk from the timeout was definitely a piano vibe, right? It's let's clear out this top floor.
Like
let's burn out all their utility. We can play the vert and look down into sight. We open up the sight walls and expose them. Hey, they still have just a great plan coming in here too. And it's still built on this idea of a sweep. It's just underneath instead. They have players putting pressure into Visa to try and force the defense back further in. You want to make them think you're going for that teller's execute and then start sweeping in from garage side. And they do a great job of averting the potential stare down. I mean, it's Zolaris all the way over on Exhibition who's looking down through the hatch into garage, but they move on complete far sides of the room. They sort of stealth past it. I mean, use breaching charges to get into kitchen rather than having to rely on the double doorway, all this sort of thing to get into a good advanced position. I think Dead was kind of caught off guard when the single wall blew up into storage, because he didn't really look like he was in the spot you're supposed to be there, right? He's hanging around waiting for to play off of Bless on the bottom of Spiral for when the corner action comes through. And they've blown a wall behind him and just take him off the table. Great job by No MAMES WEY to kind of catch your opponent off guard by doing something a little unorthodox, but playing off of what's expected.
And NMW did have a really close round 3 when they were attacking upstairs last time Unks were defending it. It came down to the wire. This time, HUD is not playing Shield. He's on Twitch. So he can't quite be the same ADS savior going everywhere and forcing defenders into corners that they can't escape from. So it'll be a slightly different composition, except this time, Joe is Amaru. He has Case. He is out west front. I think I'm beginning to smell a little bit of what this take might be like, because they can't do the same type of top clear because they're not focused on piano. But when they are top floor, if they can put pressure connector, make sure that there's no one about to do a weird flank on yellow, and they could just get into office, use one of HUD's smokes, and just try to get plant down, and then make sure that there's nobody below. I think I smell what this execute's about to look like here.
Give it to the barbed wire on the top. Let's throw to a No MAMES WEY, listening to hear how they're going to break this down for themselves and push this attack to a win.
You need to track the smoke, and then we can double walk yellow or something, okay?
Where's smoke? Where's smoke? So because I'm in Visa.
Can you start being? Can you start being? I'm gonna drop yellow, Drake.
I'm being.
I'm to this hall, guys. I can look for smoke. I'm looking for smoke.
He's in couch, bro. You need to get piano. Go piano.
Yeah, I'm on my way. On my way.
Yo, I'm gonna smoke off our left. We're gonna walk in. We're gonna walk in. Okay, you ready?
He's still big at door.
Yeah,
wait, reset. And Frank, cancel the play. Just hold, guys, everyone reset. Comms. Hold flanks. Just chill.
Smoke Des. I got flanked. He's bottom yellow, guys. I killed
guys,
smoke.
Okay, bottom yellow.
Bottom yellow.
Droning and holding flank.
Yeah, I'm hopping cam.
Yo, flanking yellow. I see his laser.
Nice. Good job.
I'm flying window. I'm gonna fly window here, okay?
Not yet. No,
Close yellow.
Nice.
Good fucking job.
Good work, guys. Good work.
Let's go. Look at this trade.
Well, went about as well as I think anyone could have expected. They just made sure that there was nobody watching the window as soon as Joe hit the button to Gara hook all the way up through the window, and he was just holding with a supernova in case anybody swung, but then everybody else swung toward the yellow side at the same time, not even looking in the opposite direction. Didn't even have to worry about getting Case down, really. So there's one call. I don't know. I know what he said the call was. I don't know what it refers to, and I kind of don't want to ask, but great way for them to at least make sure that, again, for consulate attack being something that they were strong on before, they at least managed to get it to a 3-3.
Oh, I mean, you're super happy with a 3-3 split, right? I think that's like, if you told them that coming into the map, I think they would more than take that. You're looking at oftentimes defensive ends putting up 4, putting 5. For me, what was so great was that I'm a big hater, right? I really hate when we see teams come with the Amaru and they just throw themselves into see your window and they do the whole little jump in, jump out. Oh, let's buy a little smoke grenade. This was doing that, but actually playing Siege at the same time. They don't have the rest of the team just sat on repels waiting for something else to happen. It's all about forcing the defense to make mistakes. They get onto yellow, they're applying this pressure, they draw out the smoke. You have to look at what's going on, because if you stay focused on that CEO window, if that's still at the forefront of your mind, you're going to give so much space to this aggressive push that we've consistently seen from No MAMES WEY. That's when they buy the time, they buy the space, the Amaru goes in and gets to be aggressive and gets to do the whole cheese thing. It's really lovely to see.
Well, they've made the swap to get an even attacking side split and then go on defense, which has been their bread and butter when they've had to play this all the times they did through the qualifiers. It's a huge reason why they are undefeated on console through the past couple of weeks. And now Unks have to find a way to seep through that. They're playing against area denial, roam denial, drone denial, and then also making sure that walls just don't get open for any reason. So they've only brought the thermite and have not brought EMPs to try and deal with any of this. So wherever those claws go up, it's going to have to be dealt with manually, as will the roams at this point. So you can basically kiss opening up garage wall goodbye unless you were to take piano control or if you storm down yellow. But by the time you take yellow control, then you have to be worrying about pillars. So I think the defense right now, they know they're sitting pretty, and just looking at the utility on both sides right now, Unks are going to have to move hard and fast through this last half of the round.
Eats the goo, pulls back. Again, this spread so far back makes it very hard to deal with. They are now opening up the verticality and looking to try and get this main breach open. Dread still with both of those exothermics ready to open it up and give them that access in towards the site. It's been a very conservative attack so far. They've not overcommitted on either end, and it's given them this presence where you still have the Twitch ready to go for the backstab. And I think that's what's going to lend them that extra edge in the back end of this round. But Drix still waiting patiently, and again, continually goo mining up everything server side. He is the linchpin to holding on from behind, and it lets the rest of the team focus on this main breach as we start to see these toxic babes come out to meet the attack that you know is coming from the Unks.
Every frag is about to happen on the same floor because there isn't a roamer up top to be the difference maker to come back around at the very end of the round. But at 30 seconds, Thermite's already done his job, so he will rotate off to a different spot. Is he not going to try and plant in the breach? Doesn't seem like they're really set up for it. They've got two smokes, and there isn't a warden on the other side to deny, but there aren't any nitro cells. Unks might have had a second to do this, but there's still 20 seconds left. What's the play going to be like, gents? You don't have much time for this. Is Matt going to go down Spiral? Reapers is already up there to meet him, but he comes off right at the last second, and Tweak and Stud both make sure that they get one in there at the last moment. Now, finally, the plant does try to go down, but there's just not cover for it. Unks wastes so much time trying to call an audible, and it does nothing. NMW get a defense virtually for free here.
Again, they thought they had this idea of keeping the Twitch on the backside. They can go for a backstab down server when they need to. They can play for this main breach opening. They don't have the utility to facilitate this kind of push. Ultimately, they don't catch any roamers early on. That's a really big drawback for this kind of assault, because what happens late game, they are able to play comfortably at the back of server. They can start peeping up tellers, because eventually you recognize that we need to use the bodies to throw forward into sight, because there's no smokes to buy that space. There's no flashbangs that we can really use to great effect to keep the defense from overswarming us. It's all committed to guns being aimed up, and that means you pull everyone off of your cover. Despite the fact that it's a 5 versus 5, there's still so many people alive. The Unks have way more to watch out for. No MAMES WEY, they watch what? One hatch dropping down, yellow walk-in, the main breach. They can do that so easily and leave two players to go for that wraparound and mess with the verticality that has been opened, but no real firm control was established. And again, that's all down to that time management. It's all down to the Unks not being concise enough in achieving their goals.
3 rounds away for NMW on their quest to get 4 map wins in one night. Definitely seems like it's possible, because the only real challenge that the Unks have put up in this series was withstanding in the first half of this map, because Chalet just did not go their way at all. So any early advantage that NMW were able to take advantage of, I mean, I said advantage twice in the same sentence, so I'm going to avoid that next time. But point stands, whatever they can do early on, ooh, Reapers almost has it. So he'll move back up, but he might also get cornered from the top of yellow if the rest of Unks can get up there fast enough. Nah, Warden's going to get away with that. Little attempt for free. Still hold on to yellow for what it's worth. We will see some shield on shield crime. It's both a Clash and a Monty in the lobby. No ability to move fast into the same window. They'll just keep one player on it. The Reapers will just kind of go everywhere. He silently had himself a good one. He's got 8 kills. The Wonks will have plenty to decipher through this attack. The same thing that they had to do in the last attack. It's right now pretty par for the course.
B's coming through. And the shield's now dropping in, buying that time and space, but the goo mines giving the opportunity for the defense to fight back. Doesn't matter if Big Matt lands a quick double kill before disappearing once again as the rest of the assault pushes on. The Clash has to step up to buy the space, but the plant's just going down uncontested.
Wow, they didn't even have an Amaru and they still managed to get all the way to the window as fast as possible. There's another shield in the middle of all of that, but both Teak and Joe will claim one apiece. But the problem is it's still 1 gun to 2 because there's 2 shields up unless HUD decides he wants to get off of it. And right now it doesn't look like it. So he'll back away. He does pull gun out, but now he decides now's the time. But Monty is ADSing at the wrong moment and now it's all up to HUD. This one's gone to hell so quickly and the Unks immediately answer back.
He's just trying to look to the side to give support to the Clash and just gets bopped over.
Yeah.
The moment you disrespect the Monty, you can't do it, right? It's why this operator is so frustrating. I like the little stealth hiding away inside of the connector just on the side. Like, no one look at me. I'll come and punch you in the back. Eventually gets one, right? Because the WEY, you have to draw your focus, and it's where these shields are super successful. But again, this is another iteration of these attacks where you push aggressively in from behind. You take that space on yellow, and they're dropping the Monty in. They have a blitz to be aggressive all the way through, and look at how much space is bought. They're so focused, looking one way, with a little bit of pressure on Sia window. Deimos can jump in bathroom and catch them completely off guard. They're not ready for it. There's no util set up. It's not like they've got a frost on the table or something. A really good job, again, by the Unks, and it's twice now that we've seen these attacks on the top floor, where, yeah, your end goal is your plant on the window, but that is by no means the centerpiece of that assault, and it's the correct way to do it. It's lovely to see both of these teams be able to identify that.
Yeah, that one happened so quick, and again, it didn't require someone Gara hooking up the window, but 2 shields are going to force the entire defensive side, I mean, what, close to bathroom by a long desk. It just all gets shoved into a corner because there's 2 shields both looking in that direction, and that just so happens to be where the Clash is, and ultimately Clash can't stand there by herself. She has to back up and do protective work for the one player who is with her trying to hold on to the top floor, but not to be. Unks decide they're not quite done with cons yet, but ultimately it's still only attacking round number 3 that they'll have to work on. No Man's Way not opting for a repeat of the same site. This time they'll go for Piano. Reapers gets the opener. He was playing Windows last time, and now he actually does get one, and that's the only hard breach. There are no can openers. Everything's about to stay totally shut now, and that's going to be a problem because if you can't clear meeting, you can't get projector control quickly, you're going to have a hell of a hard time attacking onto Piano when time comes to execute.
I think this is maybe the one site you can kind of get away with it, right? It's not ideal. It is going to mean you have to jump through some extra hoops.
Right, it's going to suck.
Open up. Yeah, you're not going to be able to open up into exhibition. You're going to have to push a lot more focus on wrapping around yellow and trying to play for the hat drop as well. But it is still winnable. The main thing for me is the time that they're losing in the process of this. There's still a mirror window, mirror window set up looking down through theater. They can't walk up the long desk either. Everything is still looking very grim for them in terms of how much space across the rest of this floor they need to clear. They do get the window open. That's a very nice use of that. Mirror, if you could politely move out the way. Thank you very much. That's marvelous job by the Twitch. Big Mac can be very happy with that. But again, it's still these windows that are going to be shot through.
I mean, hey, Twitch drone hitting both free throws is a huge boost right now. Because now it means there's just a little bit less that they'll be able to sit behind. I'm not sure what the hell Reapers was looking at, but Bless catches him on the stairs. And now we'll have the ability to rotate back around. But there's still top floor that you will have to clear. In spite of the mirror windows not being open, there are 3 bodies upstairs. So the Unks will have to take the fight to them with only a minute to go. I'll have to start doing some isolations. Smoke has cover from Capcan just over by bathroom. So crossfires are being held pretty well. And that last Toxic Babe goes out on the window to make sure no one vaults directly in or just holds that spot. But Matt's got Joe. So they still have the ability to move in whenever they need to. He's got both of them because he just has the wrong time to swing. And now it's all on Drix. His cover's dead. He doesn't know where else he's able to go now. Unks get cased down. Suddenly this attack is looking really good from the Unks. And all that top floor position, it might have just been that one Twitch drone getting both mirror windows. and it means that the defense can't hold on to top floor as effectively. Does Drix have a hero play in him? At this point, definitely a bit too far gone. Might be able to farm an exit kill or two, and Ion becomes one of them. But even if he were to play this vertical, everything fell apart long before he even started looking down the hatch, and Unks have now gotten themselves the lead back.
I mean, the getting the mirror windows was the big turning point in that round. It let them push aggressively up through theater, start taking that pressure onto long desk, and that's what began that sweep the top floor out. And then again, it was that wrap around downstairs. Big Matt taking the round into his own hands, pushing down from inside a spiral, pushing up towards yellow. And you get on that side of piano doorway and just starts taking kills. And again, the defense have to start falling back to do it. The rest of the team push up aggressively through the top floor and start hitting site hard. Moving quick when you get that time gap is something we saw all the time on Chalet. It's something that we need to see more from them here, and getting their first win on the board. Their second win on the board, sorry, for the attacks. They've now got that advantage. Still a long road. 2 attack rounds. Like, 2 rounds doesn't sound like a long way, but some of these sites can be pretty brutal to try and push through. And again, despite losing that hard breacher early. So being able to adapt to the fact that they can't rely on these walls now, instead having to be a little bit more forceful with their entry. Really nice adaptation on the fly.
I mean, let's just keep bringing previous attack trends up. When Unks were trying to attack Garage back in round 7, they just wasted so much time and did not have the aggressive nature or even like the wall pressure to plant really wherever. I mean, Thermite even rotated back away from Big Garage at the last possible second to try and put Case down somewhere else, or maybe they were focused on frags. It was a big unknown, but now Unks at least should know whatever strategy they were hoping for in round 7, they can't repeat on round 10. If they move quicker through this, if they get vertical control, or at least prevent someone being upstairs again to just get free pick after free pick. But ultimately, if my eyes don't deceive me, they might even abandon trying to take, they might put Selmas on Garage, but if they were to put the Monty down through electrical into server and push from the opposite side of the map this time, they might go for a cafe plan as opposed to doing anything on Garage other than just keeping it open for an angle.
Monty trying to be a bit more directly forceful downstairs, pushing into server. Again, it was the ability for Drix to play very patiently around the back side here on that Legion that was causing problems. So they've got that main breach attempted to be open. They've started to pry it away with Dread, being very self-sufficient on the striker. Now this back push through the server as well. They've completely controlled the movement for no MAMES directly onto site. This is a much better attempt from them than last time around. There's still that concern that you need that mid-floor presence if you want to try and open up this vertical, which will actually give you the space to start pushing the defenders out of their core comfortable spots. But for the time being, this is a great achievement.
If Drix becomes first man of contact against the ace down in the hallway. Monty has gone upstairs for a brief sec, but will now come back down to keep on the pressure up to Cafe. As soon as he were to put his shield on the door, then now you're worried about whoever is in the office immediately next to him. But there's still enough drone work to have isolated at least a couple of those positions that they may have to get flushed out. Again, Constant has enough of these areas where even if you were to move into a hallway, suddenly that becomes a kill zone. But the rooms are so small that you sometimes can't hold on to them by yourself, especially when you've just got a Monty who still hasn't been killed quite yet, but the shotgun on the feet, Reapers gets away with one, and now it can come back up and cover Spiral in case someone comes from that end, but you've lost your Monty first. 30 seconds to go. There's not much time for the attack still.
Still looking down into the back of kitchen as Matt pulling out the super shorty to get the work done. Tight angle onto Drix. It is traded off by Teak at the very least, and we're back down to a 3 versus 3 as Toxic Babes denying access for the team to push in tandem with Dread as he'll go down, leaving just Matt and Zolaris to find the last 3. But still the Frost coming to slow their movement. 1 goes down, 1 versus 3. It's pretty dire straits, and Teak still on the same angle. Gets to close off the round in what was tense, but by the end of things, pretty comfortable and under control.
Man, you lose the Monty first, and suddenly your options just, they go out the window. Because if you think, if you think you can clear through a small office, suddenly, dude, there's just really nothing that you're capable of doing at that point. So let's hear what the Younks have to say for themselves in their own timeout, because they really don't have that much time left to try and close out the series here.
Right? Reset your mentals, take a deep breath, and prioritize what's going to be the most optimal way to take it. You guys are T2. We know walking long hole is not going to work if we can't get that single wall open, right? Because it's a death trap. Think outside the box, work together, and if we need to flip something, flip. Pull, use Monty to pull, and then we flip it. Yeah? Again, they're not. So listen, their defense, they're not even roaming that hard. They're just baiting the roam with Vigil, and then they're looking to flank. But you guys are shutting down their late flanking, which is great. It's fantastic. It's what we want. Now we just got to work on that follow through. If we need to adjust by bringing an extra operator or two, then let's do that. All right. All they're doing is that they're baiting the roam and hoping we chase it. Don't chase it. Follow through late game. Let's go. Come on. 2 more rounds.
Rah. Probably gonna go back top.
I can appreciate that the same advice is the mental game first, strategy second, especially when they know that they're still in dire straits for these next couple of rounds. I mean, you're in the shits when you're attacking on Consulate, regardless of what your series situation would look like. But if you focus on that first, then understand that, hey, we are T2. We were the 4th place team in Challenger Series. We came closer than almost anybody else did to locking in an NAL spot, and we're still making a couple of rookie mistakes that we shouldn't be doing on takes like this. So it's good that they recognize it, but I mean, they're not going to be able to repeat that same site because everything gets mixed up again. We're going back to top floor, and their attack for Office was good last time. They won it pretty decisively, and they are really hoping for a repeat to put themselves on match point first.
Yeah, I think keeping the nerves is just the most important part. And again, like, it's hard. They're a team with lots of experience, and they should be knowing when they need to call something off. We highlighted the Monty. It was all focused on that, and once it drops, you don't really have any options to attack these long corridors. Let's find ways to not have to commit so wholly. Let's get Dread a bit more involved in the game. And that was what I really needed to see from them in that last round. Once they became so split, just find a way to meet in the middle at the very least. It was a great job by No MAMES WEY to keep them very split apart as well, though, right? Seeing the Zotos being used on movement rather than on utility, which is uncommon, but it's a great sort of niche use case for the gadget. Now we're coming in, though, and again, I like to see the setup from the Unks here, even if they're going to lose dead up early. Really not ideal, because they're doing a great job so far of opening up so many different opportunities for themselves. They're putting pressure on the main window. They're putting pressure on the top of yellow. They're applying that concern in towards Spiral 2, where they do want to draw out the multiple focus points for the fence to have to think about. But if you lose your Grim so early on, that movement becomes a lot more free.
Because Grim was half the reason they were even able to get control over the window so fast to make that push in. So now Bless will be the only one with any potential for flank watch here. Here comes the blitz. ADS through connector. He wants somebody, but he won't find anything quite yet, even though, well, suddenly there's your flank watch gone. There's Big Matt gone. Now Blitz has to force something by his lonesome. There's nobody back with him. Yellow to do anything. He'll at least grab the Legion on a down, but there's a bathroom flank he's now worried about, and he's still got a Legion mine in his pocket. And he'll finally get taken down by T because he comes up the opposite end. So now Zalaris, he'll move into the connector, and NMW are only 1 round away from winning their first series of the night.
It's a big difference in the last outing at this attack, because just losing dead, that's the only difference at the start of that phase. But it felt like the Unks felt forced into a much more aggressive take than they were ready to sort of facilitate. There's no way to clear out from the back of the CEO desk. And without that pressure, with the Vulcan going off, stopping that entry, you're forced down through Zulu. And what happens? Well, Drixus gets aggressive. It's something he's been doing whenever he's given the opportunity to, when he's given those pockets of space, and he swings out and finds 2 quick kills, and that immediately shuts down the yellow push. Yes, you got a blitz going, but between the toxic babes that can be deployed, between the goo mines already thrown down in his direction, between the multiple angles set up, between you have access from connector all the way down into the small, you have the head holes on bathroom set up to look down into as well. Attackers have located a bomb. Corner. There's no way this blitz is ever going to be able to buy himself enough space to salvage that round. You just go too early. You don't have support from elsewhere. And No MAMES WEY responds so quickly and so punishingly to just make sure that you're going to pay for that mistake. They put themselves onto match point, series point. We are almost halfway for the miracle run to be completed, Jacob. It all comes down to this. Is it going to be another 7-5 disappointment for the Unks? Are they going to go 12 rounds twice and not come away with a map win?
Remember, Unks are fighting for their own spot. Right now, they're 4th in the TPL division, NMW are trying to get to 4th, and they will have the door basically wide open for them if they can't win this round, and if Turtle Tactics end up, if they do anything to Troll in their last game. I swear to God, I've been hearing rumors about that, but that might just be what NMW need. Even with Joe playing for Sneeze, they can move up 2 spots from dead last and confirm a spot in play-ins later on, like next week. The opportunity is there. They just need to play this next 2 minutes and 11 seconds about as smart as they've ever played anything else.
I actually heard the R4C Iron Sights was called Tech these days, actually. So
I
don't know what.
Don't believe it. I sorry, man.
You don't like staring through a diamond. A fun thing.
MP7 Iron Sights. That's tech. R4C Iron Sights. End me. I don't want to see that crap.
Yeah, not great. Not great. The Rotero coming through again. Access to these open windows, getting the drones flying in to remove utility up above, makes this collapse on the extension a lot easier. Dead has the walls into sight open too, so that access opened early. We heard the importance that for the Unks, getting these openings, finding these picks, but now looking down into Skylight, there's someone ready, waiting patiently as they're dropping into Spiral 2, trying to make this a 2-pronged attack.
If Bless can get projector control, I mean, to be fair, they've got long desks, so there's not too much work that they have to put back into this. Flores is going to have to use the drones against the Banshees, because that's really the only other defensive utility aside from Capcan you're going to have to worry about, at least for right now. But it's also the mirror window, and the reason that they were able to win this last time was because there was a Twitch who opened up both windows at the same time. There's less than a minute. There's still no kill. This might be all the stall time that MNW need right now. Still 40 seconds. Defense buying their time, waiting on a lurk. No one is moving a muscle. They all like these positions, and there's only, like, time is still dwindling. It's all been down to clock control for Unks, and they might just fall short on this one at the last hurdle. There's still a mirror window there, plus what looks like a pre-placed. Joe grabs Zolaris. That's the first frag. Still even less time. Now you have to force entry to site, even if you haven't cleared out the vertical, and it's all falling apart at the seams. Reapers upstairs will claim 1, and now Bless, 12 seconds. So many kills to find. It's an NM dub for NM. Their quest to win 4 maps in one night continues against the Unks.
Just dominance at the end there. Again, a really concise hold. So much pressure coming through, but they didn't ever break. Holding these choke points, ready to take the engagements. Really clean close to what was otherwise a very tight back and forth matchup. I mean, look, we started this night on Chalet 6-2 up to No MAMES WEY after coming through and being like, this could be a really strong outing. The Unks just need 1 point from this series to get themselves guaranteed into the play-ins. We were wondering, is the next matchup going to be important? Is it going to be a little bit of a dud? No. Now everything is on the line. The Unks sat on the side, waiting to see what their fate's going to be from No MAMES WEY having to take on the Turtles to try and put themselves 1 step further in this event. It's going to be a banger. And honestly, I'm so happy we got to see a good game come out of this. The comeback from the Unks, and it's heartbreaking for them to have to go down 7-5 twice, right? It's, you fight tooth and nail to the end, Jacob, and just, it doesn't line up for you.
I mean, there's something to be said for when you know elimination's on the line, you just play with your hearts out, a completely different style. You know that this might be the last time that you play in this tournament. One of the last tournaments that will be played before the Siege X patch comes in and dramatically changes everything. But their fate is still in their hands, and they know it, and they win out and got a 2-0. But for the Unks, you could have closed things out, and you simply didn't do it. So before we get out of here, I'll pose you the quick question. Can they beat Turtles? And if they were to beat Turtles, do they do it with the required score line to bump themselves up over Unks and get into the play-ins? Do you see it happening now?
I'm a believer. All the way, 100%. It's going to be like 7-1, 7-3. They're going to clean house. Yeah. They're going to go in dominantly, build up the round difference. They're going to skyrocket. They're going to end up in 3rd. They're going to do this. I have full faith.
Well, it's NMW up against Turtle Tactics to decide the last spot. Whether it's Turtle Tactics to claim or whether NMW can complete the full comeback story, we'll find out after the break. But it's not Golu and I. We're out of here. Dude, thank you very much for jumping on cast with me. You've got another pair coming in to figure out whether this comeback story can actually complete itself in our last match of the group stage. Up next.